Well, hello there, lovely people. How are we doing? It is Tuesday, July the 22nd, and I am here with all my friends. I have nothing planned here this evening, just going to hang out and shoot the bull on our favorite subject. Hey, Jim, Oracle of Delphi. Hey, Oracle, how you doing? Hello, Nicole, of course. Chris M., let's get this Cooper party rolling. Steve Hart, hello from the drop zone. Hey, Max. Yeah, Steve Hart's right for it. Bill Manning says, dude, is this where it all happens? Yes, this is where the Cooper magic happens. Second only to the back of a 727. The back seat of a... Hey, that's right. The magic happens in the back seat of a 727. Not the back seat of your 57 Chevy. The back seat... Well, 57... I guess a 57 Chevy wouldn't have a back seat, would it? Oh, yeah, it would. I don't know. Does it? Hey, Winston. Hello. How are we doing? Nothing planned means blood will be spilled. Yes, that's true. I'll probably end up ranting about Rekka or other people in the vortex. Landy, hello, everybody. Tina Mucklo says, hey, Ryan, I've been thinking about you, dreaming. I know. Tina, I think about you all the time as well. I wonder what you were thinking. I wonder what you were thinking smoking that cigarette from that man. Here we get this. Hey, Jay. So, hey, our first question, Max says, did all 6 skyjackers, now when we say 6, he's using my canonical 6, okay? So remember, there were lots of people who did Cooper hijackings. There were about 16 copycats. But I would say only about, I say that only about 6 are those that I consider to be, that's my ear. Anyway, there we go. I said that only six actually like had the money tied to themselves and could have jumped. Okay. Yes, exactly. I know you meant the copycats. So yeah, the canonical 6, I call them. That would be 5 who jumped: LaPointe, McCoy, Hetty, Hahnemann, Mac, and then the one who sat there on the stairs and was scared and did not jump. That being Melvin Fisher. So did they all sit in the back? Eventually, yes. Now, they didn't start out in the back. I don't know. It's interesting. Several of them, in fact, I think Cooper might be the only one who started out in the back. Obviously, thank you, Winston. I thought maybe I had like something going on with my sideburns, but anyway, yeah, so, Cooper's the only one that I know that started out in the back. Could be wrong on that. Our resident Hahnemann expert is off pouting somewhere, I guess. But he doesn't play in the vortex. He's too good for that. But if he was here, I would ask him. I don't think Hahnemann started out in the back. I think he wound up in the back, like Mac wound up in the back. McCoy was in the seat in front of the back. He didn't get the back seat. He got the seat in front of the back. But anyway, there we go. But Cooper's the only one I know. And the weird thing about Cooper, remember, as we've discussed, Cooper is probably the second to last aboard in Portland. If sitting in the back is part of your plan, why not force the point and make sure you get that back seat? Isn't that strange? I always wonder what Cooper would have done if Bill was sitting where he was sitting and Spreckle was sitting in 18E. What would Cooper have done? So I don't know. Thank you, American Tours. You always enjoy the live streams. Thank you. Okay, Jay says, we're all military except Mac. Mac was military, Max. Mac was absolutely military. Mac spent, I think, 1,800 hours as a flight crewman on a P-2 Navy Neptune. He was a sub hunter. Mac spent years as a radar technician on a flight crew. So that's how he was able to not understand aviation and stuff. So Mac understood airplanes. But yes, all were military. LaPointe was a door gunner in Vietnam, and that is what caused his post-traumatic stress disorder. He talked about cutting a Viet Cong in half with a machine gun and said that really haunted him. At his trial, he told the judge that he had nightmares and things from cutting this person in half with his machine gun from a Huey. So he was and what's interesting is Huey crewmen wore parachutes sometimes. They had training in parachutes because I guess they're high enough, they can be high enough in the sky for a parachute to deploy. But so he did have parachute training. Yes, rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. Yep, that's sad. Ozzy Osbourne dead today, 76. So LaPointe was a door gunner. McCoy obviously was a Green Beret and a Huey pilot. Rob Hetty was in the 101st Airborne. Who else do we have? Mac. Yeah, it said Mac was in the Navy. He was Navy Aviation for several years. Heineman was a crewman on a bomber in World War II. I'm not sure if it was a B-24 or a B-17, but he was a crewman in the Army Air Force in World War II. Melvin Fisher had trained as a pilot in World War II, but washed out and ended up as a crewman on a bomber like Heineman. Okay, so yes, they were all military guys, and it stands to reason very clearly that Cooper was one of these guys, and especially if the money bag thing is true, if Cooper really did create this drag bag thing, as Tina Mucklo described it, then that is a real good indication that he was a paratrooper, actually. That is what paratroopers really love to do. Hey there, Dana. Good evening from Northwest Ohio. Okay, so Jay says Mac got 40 years. Well, actually, Mac got life in prison. But he says Mac got 40 years. Why so long? The others got under 10 years. Some pleaded insanity. Mac needed a better lawyer. No, Mac needed to behave himself. If Mac had behaved himself and not tried to escape twice, maybe even thrice, now Mac was in trouble because he kept trying to escape, okay? But the others got so few time because of their Vietnam service, okay? So if you remember your history, in the late 70s, from 76 to 80, when Jimmy Carter was president, there was a big push to forgive the sins of people like draft dodgers and things, right? People who fled to Canada, things like that. So there was a lot of like mea culpa-ing by the government, by Jimmy Carter's administration on veterans of Vietnam and things like this. And so Vietnam veterans like Hetty and LaPointe were released 6 years, 7 years. I mean, they were out before 1980 for sure. And that's really the tragedy of Richard McCoy, right? McCoy was given a 45-year sentence and just really wanted to get out and see his kids, and escaped and then got killed. And the tragedy of it is that McCoy, given his obvious PTSD, like the others, would have almost certainly been given the same courtesy by the government, especially because he had a Distinguished Flying Cross and was a very decorated serviceman. McCoy was. Okay, so he probably would have been out within 10 years as well. Heineman, I think, paroled some point in the mid-80s, maybe 84, 85, something like that. So no, Mac was the last one to get out because he was misbehaving all the time. Okay. Mac had priors. Yeah, well, true. It didn't matter. I mean, Mac was given life in prison, and the others were given similar sentences. But Mac was already a felon, yes, when he did commit his crime. All right. Max says, so Cooper, LaPointe, and Mac didn't know where they were when they jumped, but Hetty, McCoy, Heineman did know where they were. LaPointe was winging it for sure. Mac absolutely was winging it. Mac wanted to jump before the Great Lakes came up. He didn't want to land in Lake Michigan. Okay, but Heineman gave coordinates to follow. Okay, I'm not sure exactly how precise they were, but he gave flight paths, I think, to follow. So he jumped roughly where he wanted to jump, I guess. I mean, he jumped in Honduras, so I'm not sure how exact he was when he jumped. I'm not sure how he would have known where he was exactly, but he was over Honduras, so I guess he knew that. McCoy and Hetty, though, were absolutely jumping to a spot. And Hetty, if you recall, was mixed up because he gave his pilots coordinates to follow, and to piss him off, they went 1 degree off of where he wanted to be. So he landed on the wrong side of the lake outside Reno. I forget what lake that is. But anyway, McCoy is the only one who really landed pretty much where he wanted to land. Okay. Let's see. Did all skyjackers know how to put their chute on except McNally? He didn't know how, he had to be shown. Yeah. Heineman had no problem putting his parachute on. Cooper had no problem. McCoy clearly. Hetty was already wearing his parachute. Right? If we remember our skyjackers, if we remember our copycats, we've got, let me see, Hetty's the one who, I always say Leroy Jenkins, right? Most folks may not know what I'm referencing, but if you look up Leroy Jenkins, it's an old meme of somebody who just, Leroy Jenkins! You go off and do something and you just don't even care about it. So yeah, Hetty Leroy Jenkins to his hijacking. Hetty got a cab to the airport there in Reno. Was already wearing his parachute. He was wearing a front reserve under his, he was already wearing his parachute under a big jacket. Took off his big jacket, has parachute. Here he is. This is my approximation of Hetty, but AI spit out. Not exactly. I should try to make one better, but Hetty had a hood on like a lynch mob guy. Had his army jacket on, had a fishing vest on. He had cargo pants on. And he could only fit, I believe he got $200,000. He could only fit about $140,000 in there. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure the exact numbers, but Hetty left about $60,000 on the plane because he couldn't carry it with him. And that's really an ingenious way to do it, right? I mean, a fishing vest is a pretty smart way to transport money, so it's not going to blow off of you. I mean, Hetty was in and out, and Hetty ran onto a plane that was, the passengers were coming off of it. They were coming off of it, and he ran up the stairs. He jumped a gate at the airport and ran up the stairs. So, anyway, let's see. I'm patiently waiting for Tim Collins to find a reason to contact Darren again. Yeah, I'll say it once. If you've heard me say it once, I've said it a million times, that the best episodes of the Darren Show, Cooper Vortex, are the Tim Collins ones, bar none. If anybody could make you think Dwayne Weber was Cooper, you gotta give it to Tim Collins for actually making me go, I mean, for about 5 minutes, and then I sober up. But Tim's good. Tim is a great storyteller, very convincing, you know. Why didn't Cooper bring a better bag to hold the money? I guess he assumed they were going to, I mean, usually when you have a bomb, if they're going to give you $200,000, they could give you a friggin' backpack. A knapsack is what he wanted, which is a backpack. I guess he just assumed they were going to do it. Whereas I know McCoy brought his own bag with him, which is smart. McCoy brought a duffel bag that could clip onto his D-rings. Okay. Why was Hetty the only one to order the same number of money as Cooper? He may not have been. Let me see my little handy chart here. What did they ask for? Okay, so Cooper is $200,000. LaPointe is $50,000. McCoy is $500,000. Heineman is $303,000. He's totally sane. Hetty $200,000 and Mac $502,000. Mac, our buddy Mac, who should be at CooperCon again this year, folks, if you're interested. Mac should be back. I just spoke to him and he's probably coming. Mac had the largest ransom, I believe, definitely up at that point. I think it might be ever given to a skyjacker. I think he's the most ever. It was $502,000. 2 weeks earlier, our our other missing skyjacker, what's her face? I'm brain farting on her name. The book, it's good, great book. Kathy Kirko. Yes, Kirko. Kirko, she asked, they got $500,000. There she is. So yes, if you didn't know, folks, D.B. Cooper is not the only missing skyjacker. A 19-year-old Kathy Kirko is also still missing. She is somewhere. If she's alive, she would be 74 right now, or 70. It says here that she was born October 6th, 1951. Interesting. She was 20. No, she was 20 when she did her skyjacking, so she was 20. But yeah, that's Kathy Kirko. She is still missing. They think she is somewhere in France or Switzerland, but she is the other skyjacker who is missing other than Cooper. So, but she got $500,000. Anyway, okay. Somebody's asked me some stuff. Let me roll back some of these questions I'm missing. Was Paul Sini a criminal before the skyjacking attempt? No. Well, he attempted suicide, which actually is a criminal act in the military, I guess, military justice, and that's why he was no longer in the military. He was drummed out of he may have been in the U.S. Army, actually, even though he was Canadian. It's weird, but he got drummed out of the military for a suicide attempt. So technically a criminal act in the military justice. I think Cooper was CIA related. I don't know. Sean says, I'm sure you've answered this in the past, but what led you to diving into the Cooper case? And did you investigate any other high-profile cases prior? Yeah, so basically I was in law school, and that was when Larry Carr came out and did his first media relations thing. So Larry was on lots of documentaries, and Larry did a news blitz, and I think I may even remember what class I was in. I think I was in contracts playing on the internet. Because it's funny, at law school, everybody's got their laptops. This was 2008, so laptops were still kind of new in school. And everybody had their laptops, and everybody's just browsing the internet, not listening in contracts. But I think in contracts, I came across an article about Larry showing the tie off. I was like, oh, interesting. And that kind of got me into it. So that was 2007, 2008, something like that. I didn't start posting on the forums until 2015. Okay, so, but yeah, it was Larry got me into it. And it's great because Larry wrote the foreword to my book, which is pretty cool. And I think Larry might be coming to CooperCon to hang out with everybody this as well. So, CooperCon tickets are on sale now. dbcooperevents.com. Okay, dbcooperevents.com. But they're on sale now. So, but I think Larry's gonna come hang out for the weekend, which would be cool. And let's see. But yeah, other high-profile cases, not. I've dipped my toe into Amelia Earhart stuff, but no, that's pretty much, I think that's it as far as mysteries go. Just Amelia Earhart and Cooper. So, good question here. Was Cooper the only one to avoid detection of being a hijacker by the passengers? Of the copycats, yes. But I found out, I was giving a presentation 2 years ago on the copycats at CooperCon, and I was doing my research on the copycats, and turned out that Billy Hurst, who hijacked a plane in Dallas and wanted parachutes and machines, he was a former Marine. I want to say he got kicked out for being too fat or something. He was kicked out of the military. Maybe he was too fat or something. Anyway, Billy Hurst, though, was a Marine, kind of messed up with PTSD. Very common story, okay? A lot of these guys were PTSD guys. In fact, Francis Goodell, I'll show you a picture of Frank here. Frank, at his hijacking, he was let's see. Frank was the only one who was, here he is, all sad. But Francis Goodell was really messed up from his time in Vietnam, and here he is here after being arrested. And he's wearing his army outfit, army fatigue jacket. Francis Goodell, Frank, was in the military and had come back, and he wanted to get, I forget his amount. It might have been $500,000, or maybe his was $200,000. I'm not quite sure what he asked for, but he wanted to give it to the children of South Vietnam. So that was his. He was a charity case. He said, "I don't want the money. I need it for the people of Vietnam, for what they've been through." So he was kind of busted up. But no, Billy Hurst though. Billy Hurst. I have a picture of him when he was arrested. He kept the passengers, except the guy sitting next to him. The guy sitting next to him knew, but the passengers did not know. And I was shocked to find that out. I was like, oh my God, I thought Cooper was the only one. Nope. I kept reading all these articles about Billy Hurst hijacking where they're saying the passengers going, we had no idea what was going on. There's Billy Hurst being arrested. Okay. And anyway, nice walrus mustache. All right, let's see. More questions. Did the FBI suspect Cooper of being one of the 6 copycats, not just McCoy? Good question. As far as I know, they considered Heinemann to be a Cooper. And briefly, Mac got his ass kicked, actually, by FBI agents who initially, when they arrested him, were like, are you that Cooper guy too? Because remember, Mac would have made a good Cooper if he had been older. Mac's career in the Navy was flying his position on these sub-spotting aircraft. They flew up and down from like the Canadian up to Vancouver in Canada, that area, all the way down to Portland and back. That was their spot, was the west coast of the U.S. of Oregon and Washington State. So Mac would have known all those locations from the air, and his brother at the time was living in Seattle. Okay, so he still lives there now, actually, his brother. But his brother was living in Seattle. So, and if you think about, if you didn't know any, the whole point about the Cooper thing is that like an agent in Ohio, an agent in Michigan, in Detroit, where Mac was arrested, would not have known crap about the Cooper case, really. Okay, only the NORDSAC agents or Seattle or Portland would really know the Cooper case pretty well. So if all they had to go off of was Mac's picture and the Bing sketch, remember the Bing sketch looks so young. You could plausibly make Mac look like. You could plausibly make Mac kind of look like the Cooper sketch, honestly, if you put stuff on him. But they that was it. So Mac said that for a while they did rough him up, thinking that he was Cooper, but very briefly. But as far as I know, McCoy and Heinemann were the only ones who were really thought to be Cooper. Frank Sibley actually is not a Cooper copycat exactly. He is similar to Cooper. He was too short though. But Frank Sibley was a 727 pilot who did this. So he did a Cooper hijacking similar to Cooper. Not an exact. He didn't ask for parachutes though. He was a 727 pilot. I think he was going to fly the plane, but they ended up shooting him and wounding him. Okay, but yeah, Sibley would have been so when people say, "Oh, a 727 pilot would have done this," well, Frank Sibley was a 727 pilot who did this. So, okay. All right, what else we got? Okay. What aspects of Skip Loren Hall rule him out as being Cooper, like traits, timing, where he was, and did they play his voice for those who heard Cooper? Did they play his voice for those who heard Cooper? No. So Skip Hall was not a suspect back then. Okay, Skip Hall is a new suspect. Okay, by John Limbach, came across this guy and goes, that's kind of interesting, and kept peeling back the onion, as they say, and found more and more interesting things about Skip. So for Skip, I would say what bugs me, I'd say the only things that really, so we can look at Skip here, some pictures of Skip. I mean, I don't think Skip was an ugly guy, right? And we've got Cooper being listed as homely, okay? And I don't think Skip was ugly. In fact, I would think that most, just from talking to people on Facebook, and by the way, if you're not on my Facebook group, the official DB Cooper group on Facebook, please join. We have lots of discussions every day about Cooper. But Skip, not an ugly guy. I don't think. I mean, perhaps in certain lighting he could be ugly, but I mean, I don't think people would consider Skip to be an unattractive man, right? I mean, he kind of looks like Errol Flynn, right? But now Limbach has said that he was recovering from hepatitis at the time, so maybe he was a little messed up. There's a color photo of Skip there as an older guy. But no, I don't think Skip's ugly enough to be Cooper, honestly. And his nose is a little big. I mean, I'm a weirdo about the nose because, again, people just look at Bing's nose there. That is not a nose that Roy Rose, the artist, invented. Okay, so people can bitch all they want. If they have a suspect who has a big nose, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that the truth hurts. Okay, but like Cooper clearly had something, a pointy, kind of long, narrow. I mean, we see words like long, narrow, small. I mean, we don't see words like big or flat for Cooper's nose. We see long, narrow, small. Okay, and like look at the little Orville Lions there with Bing, but look at that nose. Like, again, that nose looks like Michael Jackson's nose. It's freakishly small. Okay, but Tina Mucklo, Florence Schaffner, and Alice Hancock watched Roy Rose draw that nose. Clearly, he adjusted the nose, right? Because we know that. Let me see if I have the thing here. Yeah. So. Yeah, for those who saw me do on Reddit, I did the thing on Reddit where I pointed out that the mugshot KK51, which Florence Schaffner picked out there on the right, I put Bing's glasses on him, but that mugshot there is the template from which Bing came from. Okay, they just stretched his head out a little bit there. That head is already stretched out. The actual KK51. His actual mugshot, I'm trying to find that and show it to you. But it's the mugshot that, yeah, there we go. So this is the mugshot that Florence Schaffner saw and said, hey, this is him, but they need to have some modifications. You know, that's the mugshot there. So, or as best I could represent it. She said, lower his hairline, pull up, his ears stick out too much. And then there were some other modifications, okay? And so if you stretch out KK51's head, which clearly they told the stewardesses said make his head more narrow and longer, then you get that, okay? And you can clearly tell even the sideways tilt of the head, it was included in the Bing sketch, right? So, but that nose there was drawn, but clearly modified, and it wasn't like it was. I mean, they approved of this little freakish Michael Jackson nose. And really, the only criticism we have Robert Gregory saying make the nostrils flare out a little more, make the nostrils broader, okay? And I think Georges Lebissoniere says make the nose Hal Williams says the nose should be slightly wider, but not too much. So, I mean, like, that freakish little nose wasn't criticized, except other than to say, one guy says make the nostrils wider, and another guy says nose should be slightly wider, but not by much. Okay, so like, you're not getting Walter Recca's flat gorilla nose out of that. Okay, so I'm sorry if your suspect has a huge nose, but I mean, again, read the case files. You're not ever going to see anyone, and I will pay anyone $1,000. Scout's honor. if you find any suspect's photo being shown to a witness where the witness says, and then we have files upon files upon files of these suspects being shown to witnesses. Is this him? Is this him? Tell us why it's not him. Things like that. You will never see them say, that guy's nose is too small to be Cooper's. Never. But what do you see? Nose too big to be Cooper. Nose too big to be Cooper. Like, constantly. We see nose too big to be Cooper, too handsome to be Cooper, head not narrow enough to be Cooper. So, like, clearly Cooper had a narrow head, a small nose, and wasn't attractive because these were the metrics that stuck in these people's heads. So look at what they eliminated suspects for. And it is great when when you're able to find the original photos that they were shown of suspects, right? And you're able to, see what they saw, right? Let me see if I've got, for example, I can show you an example of what I'm talking about here. Is John List was shown to people. I think I've got here. Yeah, okay. So John List, it's a terrible term. What is it? Family annihilator is the term they give to people who kill all their family. It's a terrible term. So you have serial killers, then you have family annihilators. But the family annihilator, John List, this was the photo shown to Robert Gregory and all the witnesses. It's in the FBI files, this particular photo. Mr. Gregory did not definitely identify List as the subject of the case, but remarks that he bears a strong resemblance to the unknown subject, especially in the areas of the hairline, which is kind of a widow's peak there, right? Nose and lips. Okay, so nose, little beakish, kind of a beakish nose there, kind of a pointy nose. We have Gregory saying Cooper had a long nose, even, right? We don't know how long Cooper's nose was because they never did a side profile sketch, unfortunately. But yes, oh gosh, people, I've been rambling. That I have 52 comments I've not gotten to. Sorry, let me catch up. Okay, all right, people. Sorry, y'all are just flooding me with questions. Do you think Cooper buried or burnt the chute? He didn't take it with him, right? Too heavy to take it with him. I would suspect that Cooper stashed everything when he landed. Wherever he landed, take the parachute off, hide the parachute somewhere, hide the money somewhere, go get your transportation or call your accomplice whenever you find a phone, whatever. Then go back and, Cooper was so self-conscious about taking stuff with him. I mean, he could have left the parachute, but maybe he thought there were fingerprints on the parachute. I don't know. I mean, if it was me, I would have probably put the parachute in the trunk along with the money. Because look, I mean, people say, "Oh, don't take the parachute; that'll identify you." Well, you have $200,000 with you, okay? So it doesn't really matter if there's a parachute with you. So I would have taken it out of the drop zone and ditched. I mean, I have a thought that maybe Cooper ditched it over the bridge there because there was a white military parachute hung up on the rocks there at the railroad bridge over the Columbia. Could have been Cooper's. I like that idea. But no, I mean, I don't think he burnt it. It's wet. He's not going to burn anything. But buried it, possibly, or carried it out of the drop zone and then disposed of it somehow. That would be my guess. So McCoy and Mack got caught because they couldn't keep their mouths shut. Correct. McCoy told everybody, "Oh, I could do a Cooper hijacking," and he told Denise, his sister-in-law, "I'll give you $50,000 to help me out." And of course, Denise is the tattletale. Remember, in the McCoy saga, we've got McCoy's buddy, Rob Van Yperen, who is a sheriff's department dispatcher, hearing that a Cooper copycat, a guy who asked for parachutes, is heading over Utah shortly. He calls McCoy's house and goes, "Hey, where's Richard? Tell him to turn the news on." And of course, Denise blurts out, "I think it's him." It's like, oh God. And so, yeah. And his buddy was like, "Oh shit, I think it probably is him." And his buddy turned him in. Yeah, loose lips sink ships. Cooper either really trusted somebody or never told anybody. Best guess, what brand of briefcase did Cooper have? Something cheap, clearly. Something cheap. indisposable. If we ever find it, that briefcase is probably somewhere rotting under a pile of dead leaves deep in the, I forget what that national forest is called between Tacoma and Lewis River area. Probably somewhere in there, that briefcase is lost. Okay. Let's see. No, Hetty was, okay, so same with Heineman and Hetty. No. Heineman was turned in by, somebody turned him in to, because he had a alive or dead poster for put in Honduras for him, and somebody turned him in. Somebody said, it may have been Flyjack, I'm not sure, that it was a family member who turned him in for the reward. But I read that he was afraid in one of the news articles. I think it said he was maybe scared somebody was going to kill him or something. I don't know, but maybe I'm wrong. But he turned himself in, I think, with somebody else. Maybe a family member was with him. But he turned himself into the U.S. Embassy in Honduras. Okay, and Hetty, of course, had a bumper sticker on his car, U.S. Parachute Association, parked next to the lake that he jumped out over. So, not thinking that through. And they just staked his car out and then busted him when he showed up. Okay. Oh, God, I got so many of these. My God. So many. Okay, with McCoy, his trip to Las Vegas was on the 25th, right? Do we know why so many people think it was the day of the hijacking? Probably because Dan Grider said so. Okay, no, it was the day after the hijack. It was on Thanksgiving Day. They had lunch at the McCoy house, and then he and his wife took an anniversary trip to Vegas after they served Thanksgiving lunch to people, and they asked the sister to come, and she said she had no money for gambling and stayed and watched the kids. So now Dan Grider, knowing that this woman can't remember things from 50 years ago, ambushes Denise Burns, who's in her 70s, and it's like, oh, well. And she goes, yeah, around that time of the Cooper hijacking, yeah, around that Thanksgiving week, I did watch the children. She only watched them for one night when they were gone to Vegas that one night, okay? They stayed at the Tropicana Hotel and came back, okay? And so, but he's like, oh, they were gone the whole week, were they? I don't know, I watched the kids. And so it's ridiculous. Is that the original plane ticket behind you? Original plane ticket? No. The only original plane ticket you'll ever see is Bill Mitchell's. That is that is a packing card signed by Earl Cossey. So, and by Perry Stevens, who supplied the McCoy parachute. So it's kind of funny. I've got the signatures of the rigger who packed McCoy's parachute that he jumped out of the plane with during his hijacking, and also Cooper's. So kind of cool. Grider probably already got his ass kicked by the FBI. See, here's the thing. Dan is not going to ever. They may have already returned the parachute. Dan will never let you know that, though, because that would be bad for Dan if the FBI returned the parachute. But again, folks, we will never hear anything about that Grider parachute again, because the FBI do not comment on false leads. Imagine if the FBI commented on false leads. How many false leads do they get every day on things? So that's never going to happen. Grider is a genius at crashing Electras. Yeah. Bad stuff. Ryan, you need a soundboard. Yeah, I do need a soundboard with, I have got a bit of a soundboard. I mean, I've got I have some of my clips, like I have my Grider clip.
Ralph.
I have that, I've got lots of things, on there. But see, I'm looking at my videos. I don't even know what videos I have. I'm scared to even push on some of these videos to hear what they're saying. Do I have Darren saying that Walter Recca looks like the sketch? Poor Darren was forced to say that by the producers of that show. It's like, You watched that show from the History Channel 2 years ago, whenever it had Dave Feudman and Beeson and Darren, where they had they were reading lines, and I was like, oh, how embarrassing. I'd have been like, no, I'm not reading that. But poor Darren had to say that Walter Recca looked like the sketch.
In 1971, Walt would have been 37 years old. He looks similar to the hijacker. He looks similar to the hijacker.
So, yeah, it's like blinking Morse code. Help me. It's like you blink 3 times if you need help, Darren. Yeah. Walter Recca does not look like the sketch. He looks like a gorilla. Okay. No, Darren was too nice. He should have told those guys to F off. I know. This is what it is. Oh yeah, talk about Skip Hall. I got sidetracked. So Skip, yes. I would say Skip is too attractive of a man, and nose is too big for my personal taste. His nose isn't gigantic though. I'll say that, but being that nose is so freaking weird looking that, and they all agree that okay. I mean, they signed off on that weird looking nose, so all right. Were the 6 skyjackers chutes unsteerable like Cooper's? I would assume so. Yeah, except for McCoy had to jump with a paracommander from Perry Stevens' loft because the parachute that he brought on board opened up on board accidentally and knocked over a stewardess when it popped open. Yeah, I assume that because those parachutes came from a sport parachute place, and they were backpacks, they might have had risers. They may have had the toggles or whatever they're called. But I think everybody else's probably would have just been standard military crap. Mac jumped with the reserve. Hetty was a skydiver. I think Hetty did mention to Bruce that he had tried to steer a certain direction, so his may have been steerable. Okay. Yeah, Drew says, part of Greider's claims were that the FBI was going to exhume McCoy's body for further DNA testing. Is there any scenario where they couldn't get equally reliable DNA from his kids or other relatives? Yeah, I don't, I think maybe because I'm not a DNA expert, okay? For some reason, though, they really want 1-to-1 DNA for the tie. I don't know, but the only DNA they have are the only Cooper DNA that exists are the 3 partial profiles that they got from the tie, which are shit. Obviously, not good. Why didn't Cooper use the reserve chute? Because he couldn't. He couldn't. Reserve chutes have to be clipped on to the backpack, to the straps of the backpack, with these things called D-rings that are on the backpacks. And Cooper did not have D-rings, right? Cooper says, where are my D-rings? Right? Cooper's bitching at Tina Mucklo. Where are my D-rings is what Mr. Cooper was complaining about. I think I even have a little graphic here of Cooper complaining about his D-rings. When Tina came back and he tells Tina, where are my D-rings? And she just goes, I don't know, dude. I don't know what a D-ring is, dude. She didn't say that to him, but I'm sure she had no idea and just whatever. But yeah, he did bitch about there he is, the lack of D-rings. Where are my D-rings? So no, Cooper could not jump with any of the reserves. That's why he tore open one. And the dummy reserve, he probably booted it out the back of the plane at some point because it looked sketchy. Probably didn't trust it. I don't blame him for doing that. You once said that if people thought Cooper died, that it was just lazy thinking. However, Larry Carr thinks Cooper died. Larry Carr must get annoyed that people can't grasp the fact the fact that he thinks Cooper died. What do you mean that people can't grasp the fact that he thinks? I mean, we all know that Larry thinks Cooper died. But, I mean, Larry is, it's his opinion. That's fine. But, I mean, again, people, I have to ask, what kills D.B. Cooper? I mean, literally, parachute jumps, fatalities it's over 1,000,000 to 1. Like for every 1,000,000 parachute jumps, essentially, there's one fatality. Parachutes are a very safe method of transportation. Okay. The likelihood of Cooper dying, especially because he seemed to know what he was doing, according to Tina. I mean, the guy makes a drag bag like a paratrooper. He puts on the parachute. He says, I don't need instructions. Puts it on. Tina said like it was an everyday occurrence for him. Okay. Cooper seemed to know what he was doing. So, any more info you can share on the new suspect you mentioned last time? You said he checked all his boxes. No, I can't talk about him. But we are doing a suspect reveal, as far as I know, on the schedule at CooperCon. The family of this man is going to come and talk about him. But yeah, I would say that to take a line from the FBI in 2011, when discussing L.D. Cooper, I do think this new guy is the most promising suspect yet. I'll just say that really the only suspect who I cannot find a fault with. And a few other people have seen. I'll say the only fault with him is tie particles. Okay. I'll go ahead and say that I don't know of any scenario where he worked in metallurgy or anything like that. But again, we don't know. The tie is still uncertain. The provenance of the tie is still uncertain. I do think that the particles got on the tie at some point before the hijacking. Now, there's been some discussion in the vortex about whether if the tie had been fingerprinted, because if the tie had been fingerprinted, apparently the fingerprint stuff, has a lot of chemicals and things in it. But I don't think so, though. It seems that it came before, but tie particles are really the only thing that I could. I mean, other people have seen this guy. I've kind of like just a few people I trust. Like, can you come up with something to attack this guy? Because I can't, and they are also like, not really. I mean, there's just nothing there. He's really good. Okay. Again, probably not Cooper, because with Cooper we're looking at millions of men could have been Cooper. But I would say that once everything comes out on this guy, he will be the top Cooper suspect. I am saying that. I really do think that once his story comes out and once images of him come out and neck things and he'll probably be the most popular suspect there is. Okay, he had unexplainable wealth that is provable. Very soon after the hijacking, he did die in the 70s. I'll say that. So he did die in the 70s, which is something that I know Martin Andrade and I have talked about a lot. That Cooper probably didn't live. Cooper may not have lived much longer after the skyjacking, which makes sense. I mean, the less people he has a chance to talk to, the better, right? All right. Can I share who found the suspect? The family, I talked to them. That we communicated. They posted stuff. But yeah, I can't really get into it. Nikki has seen. Yeah, Nikki says it's not really a flaw, but him not working in an industrial setting is what keeps him from being the perfect suspect. Besides that, no flaws. Yeah, he's really good. Ryan, I found out the Cooper comic, that'd be Dan Cooper, the comic, was available in Germany and in German language. That's interesting, as we all think it was French only, right? No, actually, it was translated into English, I think, but I think German for sure and Spanish. I believe that if you go on eBay, you'll find Spanish and maybe even Italian 1010 comics for the Cooper stuff. Any fresh perspectives on why Cooper bothered to refuse San Francisco, LA, and San Diego refueling stops? If he was getting out, why not just say yes to San Diego? Well, I mean, those cities hug the coast, right? Those cities all hug the West Coast. So perhaps, I mean, he would have thought that those cities, they would have flown out over the ocean perhaps to get there. So maybe that was what's going on there. But yeah, it is interesting that he even argued with them, especially if he knew he was going to be jumping out soon. I mean, really all Cooper needed was the plane to go south. So, but yeah, Cooper didn't know where he was. Let's just deal with that and be honest with ourselves. Cooper was winging this hijacking for sure. I mean, again, there were other vector airways. Okay, so for those who don't understand, they're called airways, and then jetways are up high up. But there are roads in the sky. Okay, for safety reasons, just like we drive on roads on the ground, there are roads in the sky. You just don't see them. Okay, and they're wide. They're 5 to 10 miles wide. But there are roads in the sky. Okay, and they could have taken, I think, V-23, and there's another, I think V-17 was another one that they could have taken was V-17. So anyway, let's see. But yeah, Cooper was winging it though, for sure. I mean, he just didn't. He hadn't. I mean, as far as we know, he had no. He just didn't give them the right to have jumped to a spot. He wasn't monitoring their speed. Look, folks, he never told them a speed to fly at. So he couldn't have timed anything. Okay, that's always been a misnomer. Sometimes you'll see that in papers. They'll say, "Oh, he told them to go at 200,000 miles an hour," or something like that. But no, he just said 15-degree flaps, 10,000 feet. Don't exceed 10,000 feet. Gear down, 15-degree flaps, and go. So yeah, he wasn't jumping to a spot. Erica says, what was that you said sometime about Cooper probably being 15 to 20% different compared to what we expected? I think that's a really good thought. Yeah. I mean, it's possible. Yeah. So that came from Martin Andrade. Marty says that a lot, that says, if we ever find Cooper, there's probably gonna be something that we're gonna be shocked about his appearance or something that's not what our mind's eye thinks Cooper probably, according to the witness descriptions. And that's plausible. Yeah, I think that's possible for sure. Okay, will Darren be at CooperCon? Yes, Darren will be at CooperCon. Yeah, Terry. Yeah, Terry says mine is in French. Yeah, my Dan Cooper comic is also in French. Did McCoy take his weapons with him when he jumped like the other copycats? Yes. The only one who left a weapon on the plane that I know of, well, two actually. Heineman left a briefcase that he claimed had explosives in it in the plane, and the crew threw it out. They threw it out the back of the plane once they realized he jumped. They saw it and they threw it out the plane. LaPointe left his fake bomb on the plane too. But I know Mac jumped with their Mac threw everything out. Hetty jumped out. Fisher, when he surrendered, handed over a pistol that they didn't even know he had, because all Fisher said was he had a bomb in a briefcase, but he had a pistol with him, which I think Cooper had a pistol with him too. You kind of need to have a secondary threat. If somebody says that bomb's not real, So let's see what else we have. Okay. Do I know if anyone has investigated the Air Force The Air Force's 304th Rescue Squadron. No, don't know anything about that. What's the name of the hotel associated with the convention? Yes, it's on the website. If you go to dbcooperevents.com and go to hospitality, you will see the hotel and the discount rate for the group that we have for that. Okay. Yeah, I don't know about the Air Force's 304th Squadron. I've not seen that come up. Yeah, okay. See, this is the thing. I mean, this is why I do think that. Yeah, so Drew says speed variability would have been limited based on the plane's configuration. Plus, it makes no sense to wait as long as he did unless he was targeting a general area. Yeah, I mean, look. It was an assumption he was making. The problem is you're making an assumption that they're going to fly toward Portland, but I think Cooper did want to jump near Portland. I mean, now he didn't, or maybe he was happy to jump near Portland. But yeah, he could have jumped earlier, but he wasn't even ready to jump when the plane took off. Tina says he was still messing with the bag. Now he did try to lower the stairs pretty much immediately. Radachek said, that we had to. Radachek said we had to slow down. Radachek slowed down and level the plane off. So they were rising actually. So they were when Cooper says I can't get the stairs down. They were climbing, and they were about 7,000 feet when this call comes in. They were climbing to get to 10,000, and they briefly, if you read the flight transcripts, they level off at 7,000. They say okay. So they slowed the plane down, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like maybe they even dropped the flaps to 30 degrees even at that point to slow it down a little bit more. So I think that's in the notes. I could be wrong on that. But I do know that they did level it off at 7,000 feet for a little while to allow him, and they slowed down a bit to allow him to mess with the stairs, do what he needed to do. Then they continued climbing to 10,000 feet, and they were at 10,000 feet by 8 o'clock. Plane takes off at 7:36, but at about 7:42, Cooper calls and says, I can't get the stairs down. They level it off and at 7,000 feet for about 5-10 minutes until they see the light indicator that says that the stairs have been deployed. And it's my understanding that from talking to a 727 mechanic recently, that the stair light would come on not by someone messing with the switch, by the lever, but by how far the stairs had come down. So it was triggered by the stairs coming down, or triggered by a certain spot. A certain spot when the stairs were released, it would come down. Okay. What is the basis for believing that the pressure bump occurred further south than initially believed? The FBI timestamp looks to be around Lewis River. Yeah, folks, I'm going to have to... Yeah. I'm going to have to do a whole episode on the pressure bump stuff. I guess I have... There'll be a major mea culpa to all you guys. For years, I've been believing that Cooper jumped further south toward Orchards. Upon further examination, I think they got it right. I mean, for a lot of reasons, but way too much to go into detail tonight. But I'll probably have to make a dedicated video about it to really get all my thoughts, centered on that. But yeah, it was a long ordeal for me to really consider that. But I think that Cooper jumps closer to the Lewis River than to like Orchards area. Yeah. I mean, I still think it could be as far south as Battleground. I mean, Battleground's about as far south as I could go at this point. But somewhere between Lewis River and Battleground probably. But maybe, I mean, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so, all right. Sorry, folks. I mean, all these questions. where there are normals for vector flight paths. Well, the thing about the vector, about the airways is that you would need to know, you would need to be a low altitude pilot, because jets fly in jetways, which are 30,000 feet up, or above 20,000 feet, I think. These airways are below 10,000 feet. So this is going to be if you're flying in a Cessna or a small aircraft, right? So, but no, there was a V-17, I think, V-23. I mean, there were several ways to go south out of Seattle. And again, it wouldn't have hurt if Cooper had said follow V-23 or follow whatever. Wouldn't have hurt, because the issue is when you jump, not where the plane is. They know where the plane is at all times. I mean, my God, it's being tracked by radar. So it's not like it's a mystery. That's why the other copycats felt comfortable giving exact coordinates to follow, because the mystery was when you jump, not where the plane is for 3 hours. I mean, that's well known. Oh, God, don't give me any... Oh, God. Jay, I won't even put that on here. Let's not give Grider any ideas. Yeah, we're not doing that. All right. Drew says, most probable scenario is, number one, he got on a plane at Portland and his ride was still there. Number two, he denied destinations until he thought they'd fly over Portland. And three, he tried best to land somewhere there. Well, remember, the problem is, when you go to number two and you say he denied destinations until he thought they'd fly over Portland, problem with that is that Cooper said don't stop to refuel until we get to the Mexican border, until we're in Mexico. Don't refuel anywhere in the U.S. So Cooper Cooper botched the range of the 727 badly, like horribly. I mean, that to even get out of the U.S., they'd have had to make 2 refueling stops, not just one, because they were going to stop at Reno and then at Yuma, Arizona, just to get to the Mexican border. So Cooper really botched the how far the plane would go. So that number 2 doesn't work there. Number 3, tried his best to land somewhere there. Yeah, I mean, Portland makes sense. I mean, that's where you started out, right? I mean, that's where his ride probably was, or however Cooper got there, assuming he didn't fly in. I mean, he could have flown in, right? He could have flown in on an earlier flight that morning. Let's see. The ones who did that, I guess only one did that. McCoy did that. McCoy flew from Salt Lake City that morning to Denver and then hijacked the plane coming out of Denver on its way to LA. All the others I know, yeah, started their day out where the hijacking began, as far as I know. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Oh, there's Mac. Hey, Marty. Mac says, I was Navy Aviation for 3.5 years. There you go. If that is the real Mac, who has joined our chat so far, I think that's him. Okay, so the FBI might have actually been right with LaCenter in 1972. Yeah, probably. And look, I mean, just my problem has always been that Paul Soderlund came up with the drop zone that we all know and love, the aerial LaCenter Woodland drop zone. That is Paul Soderlund coming up with that, okay? Paul Soderlund is in the Aviation Hall of Fame, okay? When all of us fly on airplanes, even today, whenever we encounter turbulence, what the pilots do to get through turbulence was derived from Paul Soderlund himself. Like Paul Soderlund, pioneered some sort of thing that commercial aircraft do during turbulence. So we owe smoother rides through turbulence to Paul Soderlund. So Paul Soderlund's not an idiot, okay? Paul Soderlund is going to know the difference in an oscillation and a pressure bump, right? I mean, but the thing is about Paul Soderlund, so I was always trying to figure out, how did someone like Paul Soderlund botch this to where he's jumping 5, 7, 8 miles south, more south than he thought. And I think the answer is he didn't botch it. because I mean, think about this. He had access to the crew. I didn't have access the day after with Bill Radicek or Captain Scott or Harry or Anderson, but Soderlund did. They were his underlings essentially at Northwest. So, and I'm like, Soderlund had like flight data. He had, I forget what it's called, but he had the actual like the data that shows when bumps would have occurred. Like they call it the bobs. He was able to look and see. I mean, he had data that we don't even have today. So, yeah. And look, I mean, Soderlund his company had been robbed. He was the head of flight operations technical for Northwest Airlines. Big deal. I mean, look, Ronald Reagan nominated him to be the head of the FAA in 1980, and he rejected it. But so this guy, Aviation Hall of Fame, invented turbulence procedures, was offered to be the head of the FAA in 1980. He's not an idiot. I mean, this guy forgot more about flying planes than all of us combined will ever know about planes. He forgot more about that. So like this guy he knew it. So I don't think he botched it. And I'm not just giving him credit, but because there's other things that I encountered when I was doing research for my book, especially, that just made me really uncomfortable going about going further south. I don't think so. I don't think so. All right. The Cooper and the 5 skyjackers used the same plane, said Boeing 727. All of them used Boeing 727s except for LaPointe, who used a DC-9, which is the only other American commercial airliner at the time that had the aft stairs. How fast were the aircraft going for the copycats? Not sure exactly. I know Mac was going 320 or 330 miles an hour. So twice what Cooper was going. Mac probably set a record. Like, no bullshit. Like, he probably set a record for a non-ejection. Jet pilots who eject after getting hit by a missile are going pretty fast. But I would say that Mac probably set a record. But no, I mean, Nikki's saying he just went off the FDR readout. I don't think he just went off that. Like I said, I think that he had a reason. I mean, it's complicated. I'll make a video about it, but it's complicated. Yeah, Steve Hart says, hello from just south of the drop zone. Well, you're in the same county. Not so bad. You're still in the same county. I'm not in the same county as you guys. Big Mac is a legend. Cooper landed in Lake Merwin. What's funny, Captain Scott thought that. What's funny, okay, so Captain Scott thought that Cooper landed in Lake Merwin. Tom Manning, who was the FBI's man on the ground for all the ground searches, thought Cooper landed in Lake Merwin. And when Chris Cunningham spoke with Major Spangler, he was a captain then. Captain Spangler was the man who took the flight path map to the FBI the day after the hijacking from the Air Force. He was also on the sled test, was Captain Spangler. Spangler was the top guy at McCoy for cargo drop calculations. That was his job in the military, was cargo drop. When you push cargo out under parachutes, where's it going to go? And when Chris Cunningham talked to him, he said, my flight path map, everything I have put him in Lake Merwin. So he said Lake Merwin. Captain Scott thought Lake Merwin. Tom Manning thought it was Lake Merwin. I mean, I don't think so. Because again, problem is the money. I mean, we just have to deal with the money situation, right? How do we get the money to Tina Barr if Cooper lands in Lake Merwin? I mean, you could say the money blew off of him when he opened, which is possible. But parachute cord is pretty strong. Okay, paracord is really freaking strong. Mac was using twine and stuff. Mac's the only one who lost the money in the jump. And Mac lost the money in the jump for a very obvious reason. His belt was crummy. Okay. When did the FBI, Bernie Rhodes, nice name, Bernie. Bernie's in heaven right now, the real Bernie. No, Jay, he is not. When did the FBI go undercover in Canadian Sky Sports competition? That was early December. They didn't go undercover. They went there as the FBI. They were handing out flyers to these people saying, hey, do you recognize this guy? So, yeah. Was McCoy the only one to use a helmet? As far as I know, Heineman did too. So. Mr. Sleuth thinks Lake Merwin? No, I think Cooper lived. I don't think Lake Merwin. No. Was Cooper the only one to jump in the rain? As far as I know, I don't know. I don't think it was raining when Heineman jumped. He's the only one that's. His jump is a little. I don't know a lot about his jump, because he didn't say too much to the media or the investigators. He didn't say much. So. Vodka and mellow yellow in that cup. No, that's a Coke Zero. Okay. What everybody's saying? What's in the cup? It's just Coke. Okay, everybody's making jokes about the vodka and mellow yellow in that crummy pod. Not the crummy pod. It was a fun podcast. I'm saying the crummy drink I was drinking. But yeah, I was on a podcast, a cigar podcast, which was lots of fun. I didn't have a cigar because I can't smoke in my office, but I was supposed to be smoking a cigar during the podcast. They probably should have called Eric Eulis instead of me. Eric would have smoked a cigar for sure. I don't smoke cigars, so. Was Cooper the only one out of the six to control his stress? LaPointe didn't make any scenes. Okay, LaPointe was really chilled out. Mac was chilled out. Mac didn't do anything crazy. So I would say Mac and LaPointe and Cooper were pretty even keeled. Yeah. Okay, this is the real Mac then. I can tell how Mac writes. Okay, so Martin McNally, thank you, Mac. You are in the chat. Mac says, I took 3 jets and a Bell jet. Yeah, Mac skyjacked. Mac has 4 skyjacking convictions, 2 of which were overturned. Mac says, I took 3 jets and a Bell jet 206. I had 4 life sentences plus 5 years and 5 years. His earliest parole date, I guess, out date was 2082. I would have been 100. I would have been 100 years old when Mac got parole eligible, but instead he got out in 2010 for being a good little boy. Are all the speakers lined up for DB CooperCon? No. I do think that we should have. I believe Brian Ingram is coming. That'd be cool. Yeah. Okay. Everybody's saying Seagram's. Okay. Like Cooper and McCoy were the other copycats wearing makeup. Cooper wasn't wearing makeup? Where'd you get that from, Max? Cooper was not wearing makeup. But not at all. The stewardesses demonstrably said he was not wearing a wig and was not wearing makeup. McCoy is the only one that I'm aware of who wore makeup. And he wore obvious makeup. It was dripping off his face, like some sweat. Okay. No, Jay, yeah. Drew says, I would say most guys that are obsessed with Cooper think he died. I don't think so. No, the dead camp is small. I think most people think he lived. That's how I keep reminding myself I'm not knowledgeable enough because I'm still not convinced he died in the jump. He didn't die in the jump. Like, how would he have died in the jump? I mean, again, what kills him? How many people die in parachute jumps? Very little. So McCoy was the only one wearing makeup. Yes. 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 Oh. What are the odds that he wears a hairpiece in his day-to-day but takes it off to disguise himself? I don't think he had that little hair to be wearing a hairpiece in his day-to-day. I mean, his hair was like mine. I mean, Cooper's hair was receding, they said, but he still had hair. So I don't think he would have. I don't think he was to the point where he needed a hairpiece. I do like the idea. Like, for example, if you're Skip Hall, a guy who normally wears a mustache, it wouldn't take much to shave it. So I do think it's possible that Cooper was a mustache wearer, or had a beard, and shaved it off. That's possible. So McCoy, Heineman, and Hetty weren't able to control their stress. Well, Hetty had just got back from Vietnam. He was a ball of stress. Heineman was, I mean, as far as I know, he never went like crazy or anything. Heineman was just jittery and got upset about a few things, but I don't think he was out of control. They did say he seemed mentally unbalanced, but I don't think he was ever, completely insane on the plane or anything. McCoy was definitely upset and yelling and things like this. I don't think Heineman ever yelled or raised his voice. I mean, he did stick his gun in a guy's gut and say, "I'll blow you away." I think twice he did that to people, according to the newspapers. So, I mean, that doesn't mean he's out of control. It just means he was controlling the situation as best he thought. Sissy says, "Hello, gang. Sad I'm late to the party." Well, you can always watch it later on. It's good news. Okay. Cooper could have grown a mustache and beard afterwards, sure, but a more effective disguise, again, is if you have a beard or a mustache and everyone associates their mind with you having a beard or a mustache. You shave it off through your hijacking and then yeah. If the Bing sketch was too close to the mark, despite its generic quality, might Cooper have sought plastic surgery? No. I mean, look, I know. I mean, that's not how sketches work, really, right? Sketches aren't designed to be like, "Oh, there he is. I see him across the street," right? Sketches are meant to make someone, meant to jar someone's memory, okay, of somebody that they already know. So it's not progressive. It's not like, "Oh, I met a guy who looks like D.B. Cooper." It's for somebody who already knows somebody who looks like the sketch, roughly. Have you heard of the anecdote made by Ralph Himmelsbach? What anecdote made by Ralph Himmelsbach?
Ralph.
That's just obligatory. Sorry, people. Okay. In your last podcast, you showed a really good picture of the Fazio's farm. Do you have any more pictures of the farm? And you were pretty close to needing a hairpiece. My feelings are hurt. I'll go to Turkey. How about that? I'll go to Turkey and get my hair plugs. Yeah, one day I'll show up on this podcast with a luscious. I'll have Eric Eulis's hair. I'll go steal some of his hair. I'll have Eric Eulis' hair when I come back from Turkey, get my hair plugs from Turkey. I guess you're talking about the picture of the Fazio's farm. This one here. Yeah, yellow is where the money was found there in the yellow spot there. Yeah, I showed this image though to point out that this notion that Cooper would have just felt this was a safe place to just wander up and bury money is silly. I mean, this is it's a farm and there's cows and there's people and buildings and things there. There's boats moored there. I mean, this is not the middle of nowhere. Okay. I mean, it's kind of hard to get to, but if you're just wandering around, this is not where you want to bury money in a place where you're in full view of somebody who could be walking their dog at 9 p.m. on a Wednesday night. So not great. Let's see. Remove that. Okay. 53 years later, and still being dismissive of the possibility that he died is the definition of lazy. There's the same amount of evidence suggesting that he lived. Could be what? No, there's not. Tell me what evidence that he died. I mean, it's not lazy. It's just being realistic. I mean, we have a guy in the chat. Literally, we have a human being in the chat who may have set an actual record, who had never, for skydiving, who got out of a plane at 330 miles an hour, who had never even put on a parachute. And all he had was a front reserve, like that right there. And he had never jumped out of a plane, nothing. He's fine. So I'm asking you, Cooper had a backpack like that, okay? These are made to, in fact, Cooper's parachute was literally made for people who are like jumping out of flaming aircraft. Like that, these parachutes are emergency backpacks for people who have never skydived before in their lives. It's for crewmen who jump out of bombers that are being shot down and things like this. They are literally purposely designed to always open, even if you're spinning out of control. Cooper had the best parachute he probably could have had, to be honest, and knew what he was doing, and apparently knew parachutes. So I'm just saying, what kills him? But that's his own individual experience. I understand that. But again, Max, W, you tell me what evidence is there that Cooper died? So just tell me what evidence. There's evidence he lived. Okay? The fact that nothing has been found in a county of over 500,000 people. Look, he jumped into a county with 120,000 people in 1970. He's not jumping in the freaking Yukon. Okay? So, and he's bordering, and so we have this 500,000 people live there now in this county. It borders a city of a couple million, Portland, 10 miles away. Like, something would have been found if the man dies. Okay? And then the money at Tina Bar. How does that, I mean, the only way the money gets to Tina Bar if Cooper dies is you have to come up with some scenario where someone finds Cooper's splattered body, okay, and then, like, buries him or something and steals the money, and then for some reason it ends up on Tina Bar because of them. Like, it's just, no. I mean, again, I don't care if Cooper died. The guy was an asshole. I mean, Cooper probably should have died. He deserved it. He was a dick. I would not cry a tear if Cooper had died. So I don't care. It's not that I'm some Cooper fanboy. In fact, I am, among Cooperites, I'm one of the few who do say the guy was a dick and probably deserved to die. Okay? So I don't care if he died or not. Thank you, Mac. Mac says, there's nothing that says Cooper died. I'm sure he lived. I agree with you, Mac. Mac would know. But so, I mean, again, parachute fatalities are over 1 in a million jumps. That's a fact. So, and even if you say that Cooper's jump is 20 times more dangerous than the average jump, which is not, you're still, I mean, the odds are just really strongly that he lived. In fact, the FBI believe he lived. A few agents, Larry Carr thinks he died. But, I mean, listen, how about this, folks? Earl Milne, I'll put this up for everybody. Earl Milne was the agent in charge of the Seattle office during the Cooper skyjacking, okay? And Earl Milne says, we have a great, there's some great quotes from Milne. Let me see. Milne, Earl told a paper in 1976. It says, Milne, however, thinks Cooper got away with it. He cites three reasons for that belief. A Boeing 727, which Cooper commandeered, is one of the safest planes to jump from. The area over which Cooper jumped, between Woodland and Vancouver, features wide open spaces ideal for parachute jumps. And a 20-mile-per-hour wind was blowing that night, but no wind was blowing at ground level and visibility was excellent. Still, how did Cooper get away from the scene once he landed? Mills says he didn't know, but added, it wouldn't be too difficult for Cooper to just go home and go to bed. So, yeah, that's the agent in charge of the Seattle FBI office. The FBI office believes that Milnes, Earl Milne, okay? In fact, if we look at the photo of kind of the famous, I call it famous, probably not famous to anybody who's not a Cooper person, but in the Cooper world, our photo of Flo that some photographer snuck and took of everybody. Yeah, there we go. This photo here of Flo that a photographer took sneakily when she was being interviewed. That's Milne's back there. He's holding a phone up to his ear. That's Daryl Milne. Don't know. I think that's Paul Bibler. I think that's what John Detler said. The guy on the left is the assistant special agent in charge of the FBI in Seattle. Was Paul Bibler. I think that's Paul Bibler with that giant ugly tie. But yeah, Earl Milne's back is there, holding a phone. So anyway, Himmelsbach. No, Himmelsbach was not a Norjack agent. Wished he was, but was not. Himmelsbach was not a Norjack agent.
Ralph.
Yes, obligatory. Sorry. What about missing persons? Were they followed up on? Yes. Thousands of missing persons. In fact, the FBI put out a thing in maybe 73 or 74 where they said it was an all points bulletin, right, to every agency saying, look, check your missing persons who went missing between 71 and 72, whatever, who were reported missing, and send us all their names. And I think they got like 5,000 missing persons. And then they narrowed it down to about 26 who would have met the criteria. All were investigated and none really matched Cooper. But although it's wrong in a weird way, because, I mean, what's his name? Melvin Wilson does match Cooper, okay? And he was missing at the time. So really, it was just the only missing persons. Well, remember, so Lee Seller is another one of our suspects who is recent. Lee Seller, Canadian suspect who dropped his kids off with his parents in 71 outside Seattle in Poulsbo, Seattle, and was never seen again. And he was a former pilot, and he was 48 years old, right age as Cooper, had money trouble, was being chased by people who he owed money to. He had delusions of grandeur, had a bit of mental thing going on, and just vanished. So, but his family never reported him missing, though, right? Remember, that's the important thing to remember about Cooper is that missing persons are only people who people miss, right? If you don't miss somebody, the family is not going to report them missing. And sadly, Mac is in the chat. I asked Mac's sister at CooperCon, Claire, a couple years ago. I said, if Mac had gone missing, okay, after his skyjacking, just vanished, would your parents have filed a missing persons report for him? And she said, I don't think so, because Mac was a bit of a black sheep at the time, for the family, and they all loved him, but so I don't think that. So Claire said that we all loved him, but I don't think my parents would have put the police out looking for Mac if he had just not contacted anybody forever. Okay. Speaking of, you've described Wilson as a dark horse suspect. I'm curious, what do you mean by that? Dark horse just means not a real suspect. Not a front runner. Okay, he is a somewhat legitimate suspect who if it had turned out to be Melvin Wilson, I would not fall out of my chair in shock. I guess is what I'm saying. Don't think he's Cooper, but this guy did not embezzle. He countered some. What makes Wilson intriguing is that he had just been indicted in late August 71 for counterfeiting $200,000. It's kind of on the nose, isn't it? He counterfeited $200,000, put all the money in a 55-gallon drum and dropped it over a bridge into the Mississippi River up in Wisconsin, and it was never seen again. Well, I'm pretty sure I found him living in Florida in the 90s and 2000s, but he left his family and went on the run, and he shows up in Vancouver or British Columbia. Well, Vancouver's British, but somewhere in British Columbia. He shows up in early 72, like January, telling people that he is a furloughed airline pilot, this new guy going by this new name. And he says, I'm Ken Missouri is my name. And gets a 19, he's 43 at the time, I think. Gets a 19-year-old girl pregnant. She's a native, I was going to say Native American, but do they use the term Native Canadian? If you're, what do you call a Native American in Canada? I don't know. But whatever, Native Canadian? I don't know. But she was a native of some sort, and got her pregnant. And about a year after the boy was born, he vanishes again. But, yeah, so Melvin Wilson's a guy who, First Nations people. Thank you, that's exactly right. I knew that. Perfect, thank you. First Nations. A squaw, don't say that. That's hateful. You're talking to a Choctaw here, man. That's my people. I'm 1/8. Back up. 1/8. I can't get my casino money. You gotta have 1/4, I believe, to get the casino money, but 1/8. So not quite. But anyway. Yeah, Melvin Wilson, though, dark horse. Decent. Would you consider making a video for Langseth? Absolutely. Langseth is another guy who, I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that we've got Tina Mucklo, mine does not, though, Drew. That's true. Drew says everybody up here thinks they're 1/8, but I actually am. I can prove that. So it's funny. I was actually a lawyer for the Choctaw Nation for a while. Yeah, so they have the Indian reservation. I did counsel for them. But anyway, yeah, people do claim Indian ancestry that's not Indian ancestry. Like, I guess, what was the Elizabeth Warren or that politician lady? Okay. So you're saying here we go. This is why you think he died. Lack of jump experience. How do you know his lack of jump experience? You don't. That's the problem. You don't know his lack of jump experience. Why are you assuming he didn't have experience? He made a freaking drag bag, which is what paratroopers make. Okay, he was able to put on a parachute seemingly well. Conditions. What was the conditions? What conditions? What was wrong? It was light rain showers, according to the National Weather Service. It was not the freezing rainstorm, as people think. No trace of money being spent. Doesn't mean nothing being found in the drop zone. But again, got to remember, nothing being found in the drop zone is good for him living. Like, if there's nothing, I mean, again, if Cooper jumps and dies somewhere, he's got this bag and this attached to him. Okay, so that, I mean, again, his body is going to be gone pretty quickly in that terrain. But and again, Cooper's not jumping into the wilderness. Like, I don't think you realize that. Like, what made Cooper the one to get away? He was first. That's what I think. He was the first. They did other things to the subsequent hijackers. In fact, the FBI didn't think he was going to jump for whatever reason. I mean, I've interviewed John Detler, the original Norjack case agent for the FBI. He was there that night. He didn't think they were going to jump. He didn't think Cooper was going to jump. But yeah, I mean, do you think Cooper, like he landed where do you think he jumped? I mean, Clark County, Washington is not like the Yukon. Okay? I mean, the cities and things. He's not jumping. This isn't TV. Like, this isn't the mountains like on documentaries. Okay? The totality of the robbery. Again, how does the money, tell me how money gets 10 miles, west of where the plane ever was? Unless, like, you have to come up with some idea that, like, someone finds the money. Like, look, it's just it's astronomically low. You agree with Ralph that he froze to death on the way down. I know that's funny. Yeah, Ralph is the one who's like, Cooper may have frozen to death on the way down. It's like not even medically possible. You know, it was 22 degrees at the altitude Cooper jumped. It was 22 degrees. So, and he went through it pretty quickly. On the ground that evening, it was 44 degrees. So he's not freezing to death anywhere. So, okay. Yes, Cooper predated knowledge of the pressure bump being, I think that's what W is not really forgetting that, is that, like, there's a lot of benefit to being first at something. I mean, that's where Cooper really, that's probably why he got away, is they didn't bug his parachutes like they did other skyjackers. They didn't know what the pressure bump meant until 40 hours. There were no boots on the ground for 40 hours where Cooper jumped. Okay. So there's that. Wouldn't he be wet and body temperature pretty low, even if he hit a pasture? He couldn't linger too long out in November, right? I mean, it's 44 degrees. He's not freezing to death. I mean, think about how many soldiers. I'm thinking about how many millions of soldiers in World War II were on the Eastern Front or at the Battle of the Bulge, like literally just sitting in snow, shivering. They didn't die. I mean, some of them did, but like most didn't. Okay. Another thing, yep, Drew's right. Not only is the money 10 miles away from where the plane ever was, but it didn't get wet until the spring. So like it didn't land in the water that night. Ryan, why is Bruce Smith so interested in Tina Mucklo and believes she's hiding something? Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get into. I mean, I don't want to discuss. I mean, I don't know. Bruce has a conspiratorial mind. Okay, so I think that Bruce, with respect to him, can be a bit aggressive in his style, and I think that he may have not have understood that Tina was creeped out by him. Not so much Tina is like hiding something, because she's not. I mean, Tina has given interviews. I mean, she gave interviews that people haven't even seen. She's given interviews in the 80s. Some people haven't seen. I mean, so she's given interviews to people. I mean, so it's not. Tina will talk, just not to Bruce. So, but yeah, I've never understood that Tina Mucklo was in on it, or honestly, the surest way to prove that Tina Mucklo was not in on it is that Cooper made Flo his go-between, right? Cooper handed the note to Flo. So Flo could have been Cooper's first choice was Flo to be his Tina. So I mean, if Tina was in on it for some reason, then he would have just handed it to her, right? I do like the scenario though. I did. Somebody asked me recently, what, if anything, I've ever seen in the comments of my show. What have I ever seen that's really made me go, And somebody asked a while back. They said, was Cooper ever alone with Tina Mucklo's purse? And I said, oh my God, he sure was. Because if you remember your Cooper lore, Cooper was aware of where the girls kept their purses, right? Cooper knew where their purses were kept, because Cooper saw Flo go back and come on board and get her purse, right? Because their purses were kept, apparently, in the oxygen tank containers, which are behind the back seats. So when Flo comes back on, he gets the purse, Cooper would have observed her doing that. And Tina did not. When Tina goes up to the front, as far as we know, we don't know this for certain, but I don't think Tina was, when Cooper was like, you can go to the front, I don't think she was like, oh, hang on a second, let me get my purse. I think she was like, okay, see ya, bye. So I don't think that she took her purse with her up there. So yeah. So I guess the guy's thought was that maybe Cooper put money in Tina's purse, even though Tina didn't take it. Even though she refused the money when Cooper, even though she refused the money when Cooper offered it to her. Obviously, if you recall, Cooper did offer Tina the money, as my animation there shows, and she thought it was funny, and she goes, "Oh no, we can't accept gratuities on the airline, sir." And so the thought may have been that perhaps he put money in her purse, and maybe that's the Tina bar money. For some reason, who knows? But I don't know. There's that. I know. I probably opened up a can of worms with that. Okay. No, he didn't. Abdullah, no. I don't believe he SA'd them. But don't believe he didn't SA them. But maybe he did something untoward. No, I don't. I mean, do I have to play Tina saying he was rather nice? He was never cruel or nasty or impolite to me in any way. No, I don't think Cooper did anything inappropriate with her. I don't think Tina has any animosity toward Cooper. In fact, I mean, if you read Tina's interviews and things she said afterwards, she was, she thought it was okay. I mean, she admits to praying for him, and Flo was the one. Can we see Cooper waving goodbye? Yeah. I think I have that somewhere. Yes, Cooper did wave goodbye to. It's my attempt at Cooper waving goodbye. I don't know how it turned out, but there we go. There's Cooper waving goodbye. He waved goodbye to Tina, which is a lot of folks don't realize that. When Tina turned to close the curtain, he turned around and said goodbye and waved at her. See ya, Tina. So yeah, I don't think that there was any trouble with that. Yes, Mac says, I gave the stewardesses $1,500 after they promised to not give it to the FBI. They all lied. Mac, you are the best. Yeah, so there we go. The closest living analog to DB Cooper is in our chat tonight, and he says, yes, I gave them $1,500 after they promised to not give it to the FBI, but they all lied and gave it over. I know, Mac. Those dirty stewardesses. All right. Good point there, Erica. She's talking about W in our chat. This is selection bias in effect. You can only study the criminals who were caught. So yes, those are all tattletales. Yes, I mean, not every criminal talks. I am a criminal defense attorney, and yes, so therefore all of my clients have been caught. But I understand criminals. Okay, it is my profession to understand criminals. Essentially, having been a prosecutor and a defense attorney, I think I understand criminals, and Sure, some of them will shut their mouths, of course. Again, we only know the ones who talked, who got caught. We don't know the profiles of criminals who are savvy enough to not get caught. So, yeah. Why did Tina join a religious group? She was always religious. Tina was always religious. Okay, something she was into when she was a young person. Flo said that Tina would proselytize to her in hotel rooms. Are you saved? Do you love Jesus? Do you know Jesus? Is Jesus in your heart? That sort of stuff. So Tina was always religious. Okay. Yeah. But I don't think her joining, and she's always been an empathetic person. I mean, right? I mean, after she leaves the convent, she goes and gets a degree in like social work. And Tina, for most of her career, like ran a soup kitchen in Portland or outside Portland somewhere, I think. So, or maybe it's Eugene. I think Eugene is where she lived for a long time. Actually, she thinks she ran like the local soup kitchen or something. So, I mean, Tina's always been like a generous soul, essentially. Yes, that is the real Mac, Abdullah. 100%. That is Mark McNally in our chat. And Mac, how'd you know about it, Mac? I didn't even text you. I should have texted you and told you to call him. Jay says, hey, Mac, where'd you get the idea for the jump? Was it Cooper or Cini? I can answer that. It was DB Cooper. Mac was casing a Brinks truck to rob it, watching its route, and heard the news of DB Cooper from a DJ who was talking about it and got the idea. Not from Paul Cini. Yep. All right. Somebody says, hoes ain't loyal. Well, maybe Cooper didn't have any hoes. Have I ever had a client threaten me? No. I'm a good lawyer. I do good. I've never had a client threaten me. No. Now, granted, I mean, I get to pick and choose my own clients. If I was a public defender, probably. But I do get to pick and choose my own clients. Good question there, Terry Lee, but why in Oregon? Why did she move to Oregon? Good question. I don't think, see, again, I think we're overemphasizing one thing that happened in someone's life that wasn't, I'm not going to say it wasn't traumatizing for the girls. I mean, we have Flo in the 80s saying that for the longest time, she thought Cooper was going to come get her. She said she checked behind her shower curtains at night under the bed. She would fling her door open in case Cooper was behind the door. She would turn the key slowly. She was afraid her car was going to blow up like De Niro in Casino. I mean, she was afraid because Flo got the best look of Cooper probably of anybody. But I mean, again, people have been through wars and they're not traumatized. So, I mean, we're just assuming that Tina was so traumatized that she goes to the scene of the crime. But it is coincidental that she ends up in Oregon. But, I don't know. Do clients admit to you that they're guilty? If they're guilty, that they'd be smart too. Yes. Good question. Good question, actually. I mean, most do when they are guilty. And most of them are guilty. I mean, generally, in the American legal system, if you get far enough, I mean, if you're guilty of a crime in America, generally you're guilty of the crime. I mean, not to say that. I mean, that's obviously not always true, but there are a lot of steps before you're actually convicted of being a criminal. There's lots of different, judges and lawyers and prosecutors, and I mean, lots of times it could be dismissed, and I mean, there's lots of wiggle room to save you if you're actually innocent. Now, obviously, innocent people are guilty all the time, but it's not half people who are accused of crimes or most people who, most of you have probably never been arrested, so I haven't either. So but yeah, the smart ones will say they're guilty, and the ones who don't, I can usually twist their arm and get them to admit it. Because I'm like, look, man, this is bull. I mean, I call. I say, look, you're full of shit. Like, I'm your lawyer, and I used to be a prosecutor. I know what they're going to say. They're going to say, your client is full of shit. And I'm telling you, you're full of shit too. So tell me the truth. And they'll say, yeah, you're right. So, yeah, generally, yeah. Now, the ones who are innocent, and I have had some who are innocent, I believe them. And, she was not from Minnesota. She was from Philadelphia, Tina. She's a Philly girl. She was from Trevose, Pennsylvania. So north suburb. Yeah, somebody already asked me, can you do a Langseth video? That guy had dirt under his fingernails. Yeah, Langseth is, if not for the stewardesses, or at least one stewardess, we know that one stewardess, I believe Tina Mucklo, saw his photograph in 72 and said that it wasn't him. If not for that, Langseth is really Langseth is the most investigated person in the FBI files, for no doubt. Investigated, and he was investigated by the FBI in 72, 77, 79, 86, I want to say 93, and then again in 2003. So like 5 separate times the guy was investigated by the FBI. And they only ruled him out because his DNA didn't match the tie. But again, I doubt that's Cooper's DNA on the tie. So but no, Langseth is good. Okay, I'm sorry. Jay keeps saying, Mac says during January 73. It was actually, January 72. But, hey, Ryan, could you have gotten Mac less years? He got too many, in my opinion. Well, let's see. A lot of them got life. Look at that. LaPointe got, of our obviously Billy Hurst, who was their Vietnam guy, got 20 years. LaPointe got 40 years. Merlin St. George had his head taken off by a shotgun, by the way, by the FBI during his attempt. McCoy got 45 years. Heineman got life. Hetty got life. Mack got life. Melvin Fisher, our other guy, got life. So, yeah. Just look at that stuff. Hijacking was a capital crime for a long time. I think that by the time that... So Heineman and Hetty and Mack, their skyjackings were in May and June. And by then, I think the courts had kind of had it with playing nice with hijackers. So Mack and Hetty were made examples of, and Heineman too. So I think that was kind of the way it was. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Do I know how close to the river the Fazio's property line was? Well, okay, so I had to research this for my book, but I kind of forget. But I feel like on the Columbia River, every state's different, but in Washington on the Columbia River, I want to say the high tide line, everywhere from the high tide line to the water is considered public access. So really, so their property line would have gone to the high tide line. That's my understanding on the Fazios. I'm pretty sure that that's right. Could be wrong. Not sure. Federal crimes don't you have to do 80% of the time. Close to that. Yeah, close to that. If you're convicted of a federal crime, you're gonna do some time for sure. And okay, yeah. Mac says the feds offered him 28 years. I didn't know that, Mac. Mac, we were talking about you last time, Mac, about what's his face, McCoy's escape partner, Melvin. What was his name? McCoy. McCoy, Melvin Walker, yeah. Mac, we're talking about Melvin Walker and how I told you about Melvin Walker. I told you about Melvin Walker being released from prison in 1983, paroled in 83 after being given he was given a 50-year sentence in 1969 for two bank robberies, 69, breaks out of prison in 74, commits kidnapping, auto theft, another bank robbery, and is on the run for 2 months. And then suddenly he is paroled in 83. So, less than 10 years after he escapes and does bank robberies and kidnappings while he is out. Very suspicious, right? And very suspicious that he is not in the room when McCoy is gunned down. In fact, he drops McCoy off at the front of their safe house, drops McCoy off, and says he's going to drive around the block to make sure that there's no shenanigans, no weird cars parked near their safe house. And McCoy walks in and the FBI are already in the house, hiding. McCoy raises his pistol and they blow him away. And Walker is apprehended, quote unquote, down the road. Sounds like to me, having done federal trials, and Mac knows all these prisoners, that sounds like a snitch. It sounds like Melvin Walker was tired of running and struck a deal to turn himself in and to get McCoy captured or killed. I don't think, so yeah, that's it's almost impossible for me I can't even wrap my brain around the fact that a guy with a 50-year sentence escapes prison. Yeah, there you go. Well, Max says, I think Walker ratted on McCoy and got him killed. McCoy didn't have a gun. Well, the FBI said McCoy had a gun. So whether he did or didn't, the FBI said he did. And of course, the winners write the history books, don't they, Mac? So we can say he had a gun if we wanted to. So, okay, let's see. Well, she says Elizabeth says there are people nowadays that kill people that get like 10 years and Max spent 37. It's ridiculous. Well, federal prison system, you kill somebody, you're not getting 10 years. I mean, the feds don't play around. If you're caught, the feds are just a different. So in America, if those don't know, there are federal crimes and you're under the Federal Bureau of Prisons. And then every state has their own prisons and criminal justice system. Okay. Every state has their own criminal justice system. So yeah, you might get 10 years for manslaughter or something on a state crime, but the feds, no way, man. Fed time is the real deal. Elizabeth says, Mac, did you serve in federal prison? Yes. Yep. Mac served at Marion, which was the replacement for Alcatraz. I believe Max mentioned to me before that he knew some of the people he knew had served in Alcatraz. So yeah, Mac was in the Alcatraz replacement, as far as I know, which is interesting. Okay, but yeah, somebody's mentioned Langseth. Yeah, Langseth, the only suspect who lied to the FBI about where he was on the day of the hijacking. Now, chew on that, right? I mean, proven to have lied to the FBI. They said, where were you on this date? He said, I was working in Colorado Springs. He was not. He was lying, which is a crime. That is a federal crime to lie to the FBI. Didn't charge him for it for other reasons, but likely lied to the FBI about where he was that day. He was also an industrial chemical salesman, which is funny because, like in the Max Gunther book, that is what he is, the character. He is an industrial chemical salesman. And what is all over to Cooper's tie? Industrial chemicals. And that was Jason Langseth's actual occupation in 1971, was an industrial chemical salesman. Yep. And he lies to the FBI about where he was. So, like I said, if it was not for Tina Mucklo saying that's not our hijacker, then Langseth would be would be really, really more interesting. I mean, he's interesting as he is, but not a good guy either. I mean, would have been a hijacker. Like, he was a criminal. I mean, for sure. Not a good person. Max says, I cannot disclose all the violence that occurs while in prisons. The Bureau of Prisons considered me the worst, which is sad. Mac, or Pirate was his federal prison nickname, right? Pirate. Yep. Okay. The feds have a 90% conviction rate. Go higher than that. Oh, higher than that. I mean, I would. Yeah. If the feds indict you, you're screwed. They don't mess up too much. Bureau of Prisons, Matt, is BOP. B-O-P, Terry. Bureau of Prisons. Somebody says, okay, I don't think he was Cooper, but why would you lie? Langseth. And somebody responded, Rose said, the same reason thousands of others confessed. But that's another thing that's wrong there, Rose, is that it's kind of a misnomer there, Rose, that I've kind of discovered. I was surprised in the FBI files, going through the FBI files. We only have 2 deathbed confessions, right? We always had this idea that there were hundreds of I think even Darren's podcast says there were hundreds of deathbed confessions. It's not true. 2. Arthur Durham and Dwayne Weber, allegedly, if you believe Joe Weber, right? Dead men tell no tales. But if Dwayne Weber did say that I am Dan Cooper, allegedly, then he's one. But Arthur Durham's another loudmouth asshole, kind of like Rekka, who was a wannabe. Rekka and Arthur Durham sound a lot alike. Durham's girlfriend at the time of his death told the FBI that, or maybe it was his wife even, that he talked about being a prisoner of the KGB during some spy mission and that he escaped the Soviet Union, and it stinks like Rekka's BS, right? Is Durham. So only 2 deathbed confessions that we have. Confessions to being Cooper, maybe a dozen in the FBI files. But again, outside the FBI files, of course, and that includes, I guess, Gossett allegedly confessed to his kids and to 2 lawyers. I'm trying to think of which of our. I mean, I always have to go to my handy little guide here of the suspects to figure out which suspects confessed or whatever. Let me see. Give me a second, folks. I gotta pull up my suspect graphic. Let's see. Okay. Of these guys, Ragstraw gave a wink and a nod about being Cooper. I mean, I don't know if Skip Hall giving his kids a 1971 coin of a Boeing 727 is a confession or not, but maybe. Kofelt was a confessor, phony confessor. Barb was a fake confessor. Rekka was a confessor. Gossett confessed. Yeah, so not many. Jack Collins is not on there, but I think that. But I want to say the son that I think that he may have confessed to his son that he was Cooper. I think Collins. So not too many. Rose says she's not guilty. Yep. Not true. W, are you new to my channel? Larry Carr says he believes the FBI still has the hair and the cigarette butts somewhere in their Vegas headquarters. Thoughts? The cigarette butts are destroyed, man. I have a whole video about this. The cigarette butts were destroyed by the Vegas FBI office in 1971, December of 71. They threw them in the damn trash. That's fact. That's not like conjecture. That's real. We have the files. The hair slide is missing though. That is probably in the Vegas office somewhere. Max says, answer me. Okay, I'm sorry. Did LaPointe, McCoy, Heineman, and Hetty use main chutes or reserves? Well, I mean, the term reserve, it's kind of, there can be back reserves too. Like, I mean, bailout rigs, or technically can be reserved. LaPointe, I guess what you're asking is backpacks versus front packs. LaPointe was a backpack. McCoy was a backpack. Heineman was a backpack. Hetty was a front pack. Maybe. I'm not sure on that. My animation has him with the backpack, but he may have had a front pack. I don't know, though. Mac is the only one that I know of who used a reserve front chute. The others were all using main backpacks. The identity backstory on Ryan's doll, he's waving at everybody, as you can see behind me, is starting to become as interesting as Cooper to me. Hey, man, it's he is a Men in Black doll. It has been repurposed. He was a Agent K, Josh Brolin, Men in Black doll, who has been given I put a brown suit on him, put a black trench coat on him, put a parachute on him, put brown shoes on him. He's pretty accurate. What about the fifth? The fifth? I'm going to take the fifth. Rekka was a blowhard. Yeah, he was. Now, okay, so Kenny was not deathbed. Neither was Rekka. Rekka's not a deathbed because, hell, we know he's not. We know he's not we know that he's not a deathbed confession because we have Rekka himself saying stupid crap in his confession, right?
Yeah. Why did you pick the back door, by the way? Because they had a side door there that says red letters on it right there, open here, and I said I was going to open that right there, and she mentioned that there's that tail door there, so I said, well, that's fucking good.
So, at first, you were thinking about going out the side door.
Yeah.
And the stewardess actually talked you into going out the tail.
She didn't talk to me, she just mentioned it.
She just mentioned it to you.
He's not on his deathbed in that clip. So, and neither is Kenny Christensen, right? Kenny said there is. Kenny said there is something you must know that I cannot tell you. And that's it. I am dead. Right? That's not. That's not a confession of being Cooper. That is, How many copycats jumped at night? All of them, except for Rob. Except for LaPointe. LaPointe jumped in the daytime. So let's see. If we go back to my graphic, to my copycat graphic of the jumpers, we can see when they jumped. As you can see, Dan Cooper jumps 8:13, probably closer to 8:11, I might say now. 1:25 in the afternoon is LaPointe. He lands in a snow drift, wearing a Western T-shirt. He hijacked in Vegas, wearing a Western T-shirt, cowboy boots, and jeans, and lands in the snow in Colorado. Jumps out in January in Colorado. Genius. In daytime, with a jet circling around him as he's floating down in full view of a chase jet. McCoy jumps at 11:12 p.m., Heineman 4:30 a.m., Hetty 12:30 a.m., Mac 2:50 a.m. So our friend in the chat, Mac, jumps. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Who's the suspect who says they lost the money on Mount Hood? That always cracked me up. That would be Jack Kofelt. That would be Mr. Kofelt there on the third row. The whole Kofelt thing could have a whole book written about it, I swear. Like, it's seedy, and he was just a drunk. I think Ned DeHaan put it best recently that he was a sociopathic liar. Doesn't mean you're a habitual constant liar. It just means that your lies are, you don't care if people believe it and go out of their way, right? He'd lie. It reminds me of Rodney Bonifield, that terrible Cooper suspect, a terrible Cooper guy from that new movie a couple years ago, IMDb Cooper. That guy was 19 years old when the hijacking took place, and yet he has all these people out digging around in the ground for him as he sits on his fat ass watching other people dig in the dirt. That's where I buried the money. Like, what a jerk. Like, you're inconveniencing all these people and making them literally exert physical energy for your lies. No way, man. Yeah, Rodney was a hoot. He's in prison. Yeah, he's a hoot. What? Brad says, Mac, you landed in the town I grew up in. So how you grew up in Peru? Isn't it, Brad, you can tell me, is it Peru or is it said like the country, Peru? It is Peru, isn't it? What? Well then, Brad, you should know that already. How about that? Very vortexy. Max says the 727 was going 330 miles an hour. I told the pilot I wanted it to move to 500 miles an hour. Co-pilot said I can't get out at that speed. Correct, Mac. The stairs would not have lowered enough for you to get out if the plane was going 500 miles an hour. I mean, I believe Mac pointed out that the clearance he had was about 1.5 feet to squeeze out because the wind was blowing so hard that the stairs wouldn't go down. Yep. Max, we keep saying, answer me. What about what? Heineman's flight was the longest because he was bitching about the money. Yeah? Yeah? And he wanted hundreds, and he wanted $500 bills and $1,000 bills because, that's what insane people do when they're robbing a bank, which is essentially what he was doing. Abdullah, you're in Dubai. Well, me and the missus one day will go to Dubai. Me and Mrs. Sleuth will one day go to Dubai, and I'll have to check you out there because I think I'd love to go to Dubai. Yep. Okay. So he says it's like the country. So you say Peru, Indiana. Okay. For some reason I thought it was Peru. Why am I thinking Peru? Interesting. Okay. Gosh, we have 139 people in the chat. Lots. Everybody's coming in. Let's see. I think what's funny is, Mac, I'm surprised you weren't on the no-fly list. Remember, that's what we Mrs. Sleuth, eh? Mysterious, like Mrs. Columbo. No. No. Well, I do think Mrs. Sleuth is finally coming to CooperCon. I finally twisted the arm enough to bring Mrs. Sleuth to CooperCon this year. So come meet Mrs. Sleuth, everybody, to CooperCon. Does she exist? Yes, does exist. Mrs. Sleuth is real. Okay. Yeah, Max mentioning the chief of police who gave him a ride into town. Mac, that must have been the most intense moment of your life. Was you're hitchhiking a ride and it's the chief of police who gives you a ride. The best part about the chief of police giving you a ride, Mac, is that they got that guy on the witness stand just to humiliate him. I'm convinced of that. The feds got this chief of police saying, will you point out to the court, is the man that you gave a ride into town that night, is he in this building? Oh, yeah, that's him. It's like, thank you. I think they just wanted to humiliate the guy. I mean, the guy told Mac You shouldn't be hitchhiking this late at night. Don't you know that there's a skyjacker about? Like, oh no, news to me. Who would have thought? A skyjacker, you say? No, I don't know about that. And then it was but yet it was the old lady at the hotel though, who said, "You're not that skyjacker, are you?" Mac said, "No, I bet he's long gone by now." But you weren't long gone, Mac. Barney Fife, no kidding. It's like Barney Fife, the chief police. That is what Barney would do. Yeah. All right. Mac says that was funny stuff. It was funny stuff. Yeah, I bet that was funny. Is he in the courtroom? The man that you gave a ride to? Okay. Only Cooper and LaPointe jumped in the PM. Yeah. True. All right. Abdullah says, hit me up if you visit. I will. I would like to go to Dubai. I am planning on it at some point. All right. Any more questions? I'm running out of questions. Oh boy. Well, we have some. Cynthia McMahon is in the chat. That would be a suspect's daughter, who she probably doesn't want me to name the suspect's daughter, suspect, but she goes, what about the false accusations against innocent men made public that are picked up by other people and disseminated? Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, I would have felt uncomfortable doing that. And I did. For example, when we were investigating Verdal, we were in communication with the family first and said, look, what do you think about this? And I mean, they thought it was plausible. But we made the deal with them. We said, look, I said, I'm not going to ever talk. I'm not going to go to the news media about Verdal or anything. Because that's not me. So yeah, I agree. I mean, that was always a problem with, always one of my issues with like Eric, who I do consider Eric a friend, but what Eric did with Vincent Peterson, who is like not even a suspect. I mean, Vincent Peterson is literally the worst suspect who has ever been foisted upon the vortex. And his name is, you type in Vincent Peterson, DB Cooper's going to come up forever. And it's sad. Interesting. Hey, that's not a bad... Max says, so McCoy was the only one to spend money after the landing. Yeah. I mean, unless Heinemann paid for something with something, I don't know. But again, he's mysterious. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, McCoy bought a milkshake and then took his wife out to dinner or to lunch the next day or something. So yeah, McCoy spent, I think, $40 of it. So why don't the FBI tape interviews? Well, why do you think they don't? Is what I would say. Why do you think they don't? I have asked that question, believe me, of the FBI in real life as a defense attorney. I'm like, you have these witness statements I'm working with. I'd like to know what they actually said, not what you write down what they said. Very convenient. But they say their argument is that they don't write it down because it makes witnesses feel more free to tell them things, is what they say. That's what they say. Now, the Supreme Court of America did say that they have to start recording audio interviews if it is a capital crime. Okay, so if it's a murder, for example, they do have to record audio interviews of witnesses, but only in that circumstance. So they still don't do it. Was that started under Hoover? Just taking notes. Yes, everything with the FBI started with Hoover. It still is, essentially. I mean, it was Mr. Hoover's agency, for sure. Foil over plan. My wife is already unsure she's going to be at all of CooperCon. She knows all the good bars and restaurants in the area. She might rescue Mrs. Sleuth. Well, Mrs. Sleuth likes Cooper stuff. So she's just had work commitments and things during CooperCon. So it's not like she doesn't want to come. She likes the D.B. Cooper stuff. A lot, actually. So, I've read, yeah. Will Eric be at the convention? We've invited him. So, I don't know. I don't think we've heard back yet, but we invited him, I think, yesterday. We reached out to him. So, I'd like it if Eric came, for sure. But I do believe Mac will be there, God willing. And I do believe that his movie will be shown there. Mac's movie, I believe, on maybe the Saturday night. We'll have a red carpet with Mac on it. Mac, can he wear a tux, maybe? I don't know. Elizabeth says, I'm going to try and get my husband to go if he isn't in Asia for work. It would be legendary. Who is Mrs. Sleuth's favorite suspect? I think she likes Skip a lot. Yeah, she likes Skip a lot. And, yeah, she likes Skip. Yeah. Yeah, Skip. Let's see. Who is my number one suspect? The new guy, for sure. Like I said, I mean, again, the new guy is probably 0.5% Cooper or 0.01% Cooper. Because, again, realistically, Cooper could be millions of people. But who is Skip? Well, that's the title of the book, actually. No, actually, it's Where Was Skip? The sequel is called Who Was Skip? Rose says Barb. Heart. Yes, I know, Rose. You love Barb dating. You know, if Barb was a better fit physically, Barb wouldn't be the worst suspect out there. I mean, as much crap as Barb. Is Skip my suspect? No, I don't think Skip was Cooper. Skip is John Limbach's guy. But no, I don't think Skip was Cooper. Skip's a good suspect, though. I do think Skip's a good suspect. But no, I think my days of ever promoting a suspect are done. I think I'm not into that. Just trying to be a historian on this case as best I can. But the new guy is, I mean, objectively a good suspect. Objectively is going to be well received for sure. Like I said, I mean, people I respect who really know this case have tried to poke a hole in this guy, and very difficult. Did Cooper and the Copycat skyjackers take their equipment and others not leave fingerprints? Okay, so Mac left fingerprints. McCoy left fingerprints. Now, McCoy, though, was like, McCoy should have aborted. McCoy was dumb. I mean, McCoy was just... So here's McCoy's problem. Remember I told you earlier that McCoy flew from Salt Lake City to Denver, got off the plane, went and bought a ticket from Denver to LA. Okay? Now, McCoy wore gloves. Remember, part of McCoy's clown suit, as I call it, remember McCoy was wearing the most gaudy, idiotic outfit imaginable, right? Just a complete clown costume McCoy was wearing. Where is it? Sorry, I'm trying to find. McCoy was just wearing an idiot outfit, but he had gloves on, right? So McCoy had some black gloves on, right? But here's the point. Here's where McCoy should have aborted. Okay. When McCoy got on the plane in Denver that he was going to hijack, It was the same plane and the same crew from Salt Lake City to Denver, and didn't go, oh shit, my prints are all over the plane. It's the same crew. Now they're going to be like, why was that guy, isn't this guy wearing this wig, and isn't that the same dude who went in the bathroom looking like the guy from, I mean, he was just obvious. Again, remember, they knew he was the hijacker before he even started the hijacking. That's why McCoy can't be Cooper. All right? McCoy was so obvious that they literally were like, we have a hijacker on board before he even started it. Okay? Not quite like Mr. Mack here. Mack wore a nice outfit. Yeah, I agree. McCoy was not dumb, just wasn't smart. Yeah. There's Mack. Mack was wearing a red jacket, yellow pants, a yellow tie, and a shaggy wig and aviator sunglasses. Okay. Okay. Why did the FBI, Max says, sorry, when the bag ripped off my leg, within minutes I decided I can do it again and demand $1 million this time. Max said, it's easy, I can do this. Mac, you are special. We love you. Okay, W says, why did the FBI conduct multiple interviews with some individuals but not follow up with others whose information was equally important? Maybe they didn't think it was equally important, right? I don't know. I mean, the FBI really liked Langseth. The FBI really liked, were really intrigued by Ralph, is it Ralph Silkwood? Ralph Silkwood, I think.
Ralph.
His name was Ralph Silkwood. Yeah, they liked Ralph Silkwood a lot, and they liked Langseth a lot. Langseth is the only one I know of that they interviewed multiple times. They spoke to him 72, 79, and then 03. So they did, they interviewed him several times. Okay. Nothing like blending in, Mac. I think Mac did blend in. It was the 70s, right? I mean, Mac didn't draw any attention. I mean, despite wearing that outfit, he didn't draw. Now, he put the wig on inside the plane in the bathroom, okay? But everything else was just like him. Yeah. Did the FBI like Catalano? Yes, they did. In fact, he was one of the only suspects who was not. So Ralph Hope did an extensive review of the case files, and only 4 suspects he determined had not been to his satisfaction, conclusively eliminated. And that was Langseth, Catalano, Sheridan Peterson, and McCoy. Which I don't know why McCoy, but when is Mac's movie coming out? I believe that we talked. I did a Zoom call with the director and producer to secure the movie being shown at CooperCon last week. And I think that it comes out in 100 theaters in September, maybe. And then the last showing might be CooperCon. And then after that, it goes to, I think, Amazon and Apple is where it's going to be on. And it looks really great, too. We are really excited for that. Max says, I was dressed like a businessman. Nobody noticed. Of course, nobody would notice. The guy who years later brought up the hijacking before the FBI asked about it, Orville Lyons, did they ever fully eliminate him, and did we know the reason? I assume they did, because he wasn't one of Ralph Hope's people, who Ralph Hope, agent, said, but we don't know yet what eliminated him. I assume it's kind of a cliffhanger. What we have on him in the FBI files is on my website, norjack.org. You can go look up his, read his stuff. It's kind of a cliffhanger what we have on him. It basically ends with, yeah, I know his fingerprints don't match, but better show his photo to the girls, which they weren't doing at that point, like, unless it was absolutely necessary. In fact, there is an FBI file somewhere in 76 that says, we have to stop showing pictures to the girls because they've all admitted they can't remember what Cooper looks like. This is 76. And the girls, by then, were like, we have no idea. We've kind of forgotten what it looked like. So they said only in the most extreme circumstances do you show a photograph to the girls. And we do have them in 84 saying, show this to the stewardesses. So, yeah, Rose is right. Most of these guys look pretty pale. I agree with you, Rose. They sure do. I mean, swarthy suspects are few and far between, really. I mean, let's just figure it out. I mean, how many of these guys would we even consider to be swarthy? I mean, not many. Not many at all. Let's see. I mean, hard to tell. And now we know Melvin Wilson was definitely swarthy. They said he had I guess they call it a winter tan, I think. He was definitely olive skinned for sure. His daughter, there's color photos of him. He was dark. Dwayne Weber was certainly dark skinned. Verdal was dark skinned. Braden, there's photos of him in color where he does look dark skinned, like tanned really from the sun. Skip Hall was able to pretend to be a pretend to be a Cuban. So he was definitely dark skinned. And obviously we have, photos of Skip's skin. I can't tell about Langseth. Catalano was Italian. So yeah. Dick Lepsey, there's a really good picture of Dick Lepsey where he's absolutely olive skinned. There's no doubt about it. Rackstraw is as pale as I am. Burnworth, I've seen color photos of him. He's white as snow. Sheridan Peterson's white dude. Kofeld's a white dude. L.D. Cooper is certainly swarthy. Lakich was like Hungarian or something. He has ethnic. He was dark skinned. Kenny Christensen, white as snow. Lee Sellers, pretty white. Lyons seems white, although the FBI says he's swarthy. The FBI who interviewed him said he was swarthy. So, Barb was white as snow. Recco was white dude. Gossett, white guy for sure. E. Howard Hunt, white dude. McCoy was a white dude. I mean, so yeah, there are not too many swarthy suspects, really at all. And that's an important part about Cooper. I mean, I do believe that to be the case, that Cooper, when you compile, the only witness who didn't say Cooper was dark complected or olive or swarthy. Those are three words. Was Bill Mitchell. Bill Mitchell just said he looked like a white guy to me. But maybe that was Bill's angle they saw Cooper at. I don't know, for whatever reason. Maybe he just didn't. But he's the only one. Every single one of them says the others say he was dark skinned, or use the precise term olive. Right. So. Terry says, I love these live shows. Thanks for taking the time to do them, Ryan. Well, you're welcome. Is the new boy swarthy? Oh, hell yeah. New guy is very swarthy, for sure. Hell yeah. Peru is in Indiana. Well, Peru, the city is in Indiana. Do I give any credibility to the LD story or him as a suspect? Sure. LD has Elizabeth, the new guy is going to be at CooperCon. Call it a cheap plug for CooperCon, I guess. So the family are going to be there to introduce the new guy. So, because in fact, they don't want him to be Cooper. That's the kind of the weird thing about these people is they actually don't want him to be Cooper, but they are intellectually honest enough with themselves to be like, Dad might be Cooper. So they'll be there, and they're not trying to profit off it or anything, but they are just smart. They're smart people. They're very. The husband, it's the daughter of the guy. They're very, like I said, she's in her 70s, and they're just for posterity. They think that maybe that it should come out, or it should be looked at. Again, they don't know, but there's things going there, a lot of things going there. It kind of took my breath away when I gotta say the only time I've ever gotten chills from Cooper. From researching this case was seeing some of the stuff they've got. Who's the new guy? Can't talk about it. Okay, well, Erica says, I'm Swedish, so going to CooperCon is pretty challenging, but I really want to do it one of these days. Yeah, absolutely. Come hang out with us. It's great. We are going to be doing, I'm pretty sure, not a live stream because people would bitch about the internet going out and stuff, but not a live stream, but we are going to be doing like a on-demand thing. So like, I believe it's gonna be professionally filmed, and then like afterwards it'll be like an on-demand. You can pay $25 or whatever to download it or whatever. So, whether they are right or wrong, I love the family. Well, like I said, they're trying. I can't say I've ever encountered a family where like, I don't want my dad to be Cooper, but I think he was. And I think you people should know about it. So, have I ever met Tina in person? What do you make of the theory that the rapture... What? What do you make of the theory that the rapture happened at 8:14 and D.B. Cooper just happened to be the only true Christian? Okay. What, left behind? In a different dimension, I guess, right? Oh, I get what you're saying. He was raptured into heaven like Loki. Okay. Possible. Rose says, that's not possible. I am still here. Well, maybe Cooper was like the only believer in the spaghetti monster. And that's the true God. So maybe Cooper was the only believer in the true God. Black Wingy, you're going. She says, I got my 3-day pass. It's intimidating to go, but we'll have a coffee. What's intimidating? To come into CooperCon and hang out with all of us. We're nice people. Brian Ingram's supposed to be there this year. You can meet Brian. Larry Carr, I think, can come and hang out. Be cool. I didn't say that, mystery bag. I'm just being mysterious. Okay. Any Tina... Oh, yes. Any Tina bar activity. Yes. We are having a hydrologist. In fact, we might have 2 hydrologists and another hydrologist who also has a degree in soil deposits, or what, I mean, like, seriously, we have a person who we think's coming for a panel who has a degree in hydrology and a degree in like soil mineralogy. It's like, could you invent a better person to tell us about Tina Barr than that? Don't think so. So we're gonna, yeah, and we may have another field trip. We're gonna have to contact the Fozias. We may have a field trip to Tina Barr, like Eric used to do. Maybe not, but just to tell you, Tina Barr is not at all what it was. I mean, it's kind of cool to go there just as a novelty, but it's like going to the Alamo or something. Like, it's not what it was. You know, if you've ever been to the Alamo, it's like in the middle of a mall. You're like, oh, there's the Alamo. Kind of like that. Tina Barr does not look like it used to. Okay, there's no beach at Tina Barr. It's just, there's the amount of sand at Tina Barr is like a school playground. It's not much. It's mostly rocks these days because they're trying to stop the erosion there. So it's not what you think. Sadly, it looks nothing like what we see in the videos and things. Max, the time went shorter to largest. LaPointe, Hetty, Cooper, Mack, McCoy, Mack, and Heineman. How about that? I mean, I guess. I mean, I mean, if you say so. I mean, I put the graphic up. I mean, so yeah. I mean, that's the whole point of that graphic I put up was we can see that we can see that length of time. It's probably right. What'd you say there? I mean, that's why I have the length of time on there. So, judging by this, let's see. LaPointe's was 10:50 to 1:25. What is that? 2.5 hours. Hetty's was 7:30 to 12:30, which is, what is that, 4 hours? Yeah, 4 hours. So yeah, LaPointe's was really short, then Hetty, then Cooper, then McCoy, then Mac, then Heineman. Yeah, that's right. Yes. Has Bill Mitchell ever mentioned seeing Tina smoking while on duty? That would seem very peculiar. Yeah, that would have been. No, Bill never mentioned that, actually. That's a good point. But I mean, I don't. People smoking back then was not a thing, and it's according to Bill and like people like Mike Cooper, who claims to have seen Tina back there with him. I think that they thought that Cooper was like a member of like a executive from Northwest Airlines. I think that's what the general thought was, is that he was like a secret shopper, right? Or not a secret shopper, but he was observing the plane or doing something for. I mean, if you saw a stewardess just sitting with a guy in a business suit at the back of a plane and he's just looking around, I mean, I think they assumed that he was with the company or something like that, or that they knew each other. You do need to rewind Black Wingy because Mac is in the chat. You're asking about McNally. Mac's here. Ryan said Mac might be at Cooper on. Yes. His movie is going to be shown on Saturday, and Mac, I believe, will be there. He's going to try to get there. So I know that the production team for the movie wants him there too. We would love to see Mac again. Mac is our guy, and we're trying to get Rob Hetty there too. Rob came to the first Cooper Con. The first Cooper Con was the Cooper Symposium in 2013, and Rob Hetty was there. So Rob is not averse to Cooper stuff. So gonna try and get Rob to be there too. So that just so we can have Hetty and Mac together, the only two surviving copycats, right? Be kind of cool to have them, to get a photo with Mac and Hetty would be kind of neat, right? So that'd be interesting. Any specific hotel? Elizabeth, our website, dbcooperevents.com. Click on hospitality. And you can see the hotel information there. Elizabeth. Okay. You say, where should you stay? Yeah. So stay at the hotel where everybody is. Because, I mean, the bar there will probably, Victor 23 bar is not too far away from where we are, but usually the social things go on at the hotel at the bar. So yeah, make sure to be at the same hotel we're at, and that's on dbcooperevents.com, and go to hospitality tab. Okay, so Cooper, Hetty, and Mac are alive. I don't think Cooper's alive. Cooper's been dead for quite a while, in my opinion. What's Hetty like? Outgoing like Mac? Yeah, friendly guy. I'm always saying it's not as I haven't met Hetty actually, but from my understanding, for people who have met him, he's pretty cool. Abdullah says he's a confession to make. He's living a good life here in the Middle East. Well, don't confess. I was gonna say don't confess to don't confess like Kenny Christensen where you live. Probably not the smartest thing to do. So, when did I give up on Cooper being alive? For me, it was 2010. I always kind of figured he was dead. And when I got into it, because he was 50 years old. I mean, a middle-aged guy in 71. I'm probably not alive in 2013 or whatever. I mean, you know. Essentially, Cooper was of the World War II generation, I think, right? So those guys were most of, I mean, there's some of them still alive, right? But most of those guys were gone by the turn of the century, you know. So I always figured Cooper was gone. Okay, doke. Hilton, Vancouver. Yes, that's where it is. I mean, Cooper may be alive. I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, a chain smoking, a heavy smoking man in 1971 is probably not still alive. Just saying. Could be. The distance from Tina Bar from the drop zone is what makes my head spin. It should make everybody's head spin. Tina Bar is obnoxious. I wish it had never happened. I was disappointed I couldn't see the basement at the Alamo when I went. Is there a basement at the Alamo? I don't know. It's like, who's in Grant's tomb? Well, Grant. I thought the area is underwater now. It is. A little bit, yes. Where the money was found is underwater. Yep. The beach has eroded to that point. It's about 8 feet out from the normal spot where the money is, or where the shoreline is. Not by too much, though. I think Eric puts it farther out than I would put it out. But Nick, are you and Brad coming to CooperCon? Well, I know Nikki Broughton is for sure. Okay. As Cooper says, we don't bite. Yes, Nikki says, we don't bite at CooperCon. Come on. You will have so much fun. Everybody should come to CooperCon. You're hoping that CNN can get your dad's name off Wikipedia. Cynthia, I don't know. I don't know if that can be done. There's I think there's too many stories on your dad, sadly. I think there's too many stories. If you want that to happen, I don't think so. I think he is your dad is a part of the Cooper story now. For better or for worse, is what it is. Okay. Is that it? Okay, cool. Well, okay, folks. Oh, wait. Yes, what was the documentary Himmelsbach was involved in? Their version of Cooper was so angry.
Ralph.
Yeah, that you're thinking of Unsolved Mysteries. Yes, he was like Foghorn Leghorn. I say, get to the front. Go on, get. He even says like, go on, get to Tina. It's like, what? The Foghorn Leghorn Cooper. Now I told you to get up there with your flyboys and don't come back. It's like, okay, no. Yeah, that was Foghorn Leghorn Cooper. I don't. That was clearly influenced heavily from Ralph Himmelsbach doing that for sure. And don't come back here. Okay. It's not at all. I say. All right then. Well, all right, folks. Well, we are coming up on 3 hours. So this is when I normally stop. Thank you, folks. My next video, I don't know what my next video should be. I don't know. Y'all let me know. I may do my mea culpa on the drop zone. Or Langseth would be a good one. Maybe I'll do Langseth. I take the 5th mystery bag. Great stuff, Retro Ref. Thank you for Retro Ref. All right. Well, anyway. All right, folks. Well, that's all I've got for today, folks. So like and subscribe and all that YouTube-y stuff. And I will talk to my friends. Talk to you again in a couple weeks or next week or whenever I talk to you folks. So I will, talk to you. Anyway. Yeah, I'm distracted. You're still comments. Oh, McNally. Thank you. And thank you, Mac, for joining. Nice video. Good night to you all. Thank you to Mac. And hopefully I will see you, Mac, in November, my friend. Be well. Bye, folks. Bye.